Hello and welcome to the Solent Sports News Soccer Saturday special. We've got reporters from 5 games across the country, up and down practically every level of English football, bringing you the scores on the doors for this wonderful Saturday of footballing action. We've got some of the most budding and best young reporters in the game in the studio alongside me today. And we've also got the best producer in the game, with producer Will taking charge as well. We will have all of the goals as they go in, as well as the best jokes, the best comedy, and also the best quiz you've ever heard on a Saturday 3 o'clock football show. My name's Jamie Olashinsky. I will be your presenter for today, and we're going to run you through the budding panel sat across me in Southampton Solent University studio number 4. First up, Freddie Kilby. Introduce yourself. What game are you doing?
Yes, thank you, Jamie. Also, as you mentioned, I'm Freddie Kilby, and I'm covering the game that will see 19th place Crystal Palace host a slightly underwhelming 10th place Newcastle United. So it should be an intriguing game.
Also sat opposite, ever so slightly to my right-hand side, Nathan Rawlings. Nathan, which game are you doing today?
Yep, thanks Jamie. Hi everyone. I am covering Nottingham Forest at home against Ipswich. Nottingham Forest flying high, up in 7th place despite losing 3-0 to Arsenal last week. On the other end of the table, Ipswich down in 18th, newly promoted team struggling this season. Looks to be an intriguing one.
Thank you very much, Nathan. So also sat opposite me, would you believe that most of the panel today are sat opposite me? We've got, he's arguably the best looking person in the room. It's Freddie Dorman.
Thank you, Jamie. So Brentford versus Leicester for me today, 11th versus 16th. A team who scores a lot against a team who concedes a lot. So hopefully one of the games of the afternoon. Van Nistelrooy not in charge just yet, so a bit of a free hit for Leicester. As for Brentford, they could move up to 6th with a win.
It's really all action in the Premier League, and those 3 covering games in the Premier League. We've got Charlie Bender sat opposite me. You're doing a championship game, Charlie. Charlie, tell me about it.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. I've got Bristol City, Plymouth Argyle at Ashton Gate. No bias here, of course. Bristol City struggling at home, only 2 wins this season at home. Plymouth Argyle, however, away, only 2 points, conceding 23 across 9 games. So that you would think maybe a bit of a stalemate, but I reckon we've got a cracker on our hands.
Goodness, football is just an absolute marvel, isn't it? Games up and down the country. We've got people at today, 5 live reporters all across the country, some at Crawley, some at Coventry, the local games as well, all being covered live from Studio 4 in Southampton Solent University. There are a couple of scores on the doors already due to some early kick-offs in the FA Cup and even League 2, Carlisle leading by a goal to nil. In League 2, in the biggest game on at the moment, Middlesbrough lead Hull City by 2 goals to nil, but nobody really cares about the football, do they? People care about the Solent Sports News quiz. Are we ready for the quiz, chaps? Ginge, are you ready? Sorry, Nathan Rawlings, are you ready?
I am absolutely ready, thank you.
Right, we're ready to get into this quiz. So, format of the quiz is kind of just a normal quiz. The chaps across from me have the best set of buzzers I've ever seen in my life. So we'll tell you what, we'll do a little buzzer test first, starting with Freddie Kilby. Freddie, what is your buzzer?
This is my buzzer.
So it's a wonderful buzzer. Charlie?
It's my buzzer. It's purple.
We really are the best in the game. Nathan, what's your buzzer?
This one matches the colour of my hair, bright orange.
Oh, a ferocious thud on one there. And Freddie, your buzzer?
Best till last.
Freddie Dorman. It's a good boinging buzzer. So we've got the buzzer test done. First round, the first 10 questions of this quiz are a commentary round. So producer Will, probably the best looking person in the room. Sorry, Freddie, I took away from you before. But he's going to play a commentary clip. The first question I'm going to ask is, who was the manager of the team that was scored against in this clip? So who was the manager of the team that conceded this goal?
Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero!
Who's buzzed in first there? Freddie Dorman has buzzed in first. Freddie, can you give me an answer?
I'm completely wrong. Is it Mark Hughes?
It is Mark
Yes.
Hughes. 1 point to Freddie Dorman. Straight
Come
off of the
on.
bag there. Mark Hughes, obviously the Aguero moment. Probably the most iconic piece of commentary ever. And Mark Hughes has got it. So next up, we've got question number 2. Same question applies. Same question applies to that one. Who was the manager of the team that conceded?
Turns Alderweireld. Hazard!
We've got a buzz in from the left-hand side. Was it very tight? Producer Will, who do you think it was? Was it Freddie Kilby that did that?
Freddie Kilby was the fastest buzzer
I think it was
first.
Charlie, actually.
Oh,
What a
you're
piece of
right.
sportsmanship.
Generosity already.
What a piece of sportsmanship. Charlie, who do you think was the manager of the team that conceded?
Was it Pochettino?
Oh, we've got 2 for 2. Charlie Bender pulls in the Mauricio Pochettino.
I remember watching that game in my playroom with my dad.
You weren't that young. You had a playroom.
I've always had a playroom, mate. It's my dad's office now.
Blimey, who remembers the day of the game, actually? This is just a joke. It was a Monday night, I do believe. It was Monday Night Football, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe.
I think I just got back from football training.
Back of the bridge.
The epitome of... It was the Battle of the Bridge.
Yeah.
There surprisingly wasn't a red card in that game, though.
No, Spurs did get fined for a lot of yellows. I can't remember if Chelsea did as well, but Spurs definitely did.
I think so. Question number 3. Again, same question applies. Who was the manager of the team that conceded?
And only as far as Nelson has to get his shot right. Oh, unbelievable!
No buzz. Was there a buzz?
Yeah, that
Come
was
in.
me.
It's Freddie Dorman that has buzzed in.
I could be very wrong. I feel like it was against Bournemouth, wasn't it? So is it Scott Parker?
No, it is not Scott Parker. Freddie Dorman frozen out of this question. The floor is open. Charlie, Freddie Kilby, Nathan Rawlings. You don't need to buzz. Just first person to come up with an
To be
answer.
honest, I couldn't hear who scored, so I needed to get my hearing test. I think.
It was Reece Nelson for
Nelson.
Arsenal
Oh.
against Bournemouth.
Was that last season?
Is it Iraola?
No, it was before Areola came
I
in.
couldn't think it was before him.
So Nathan Rawlings frozen out. It's just Charlie Bender and Freddie Kilby that can
Gary
go for it.
O'Neill.
It's Gary O'Neill. Charlie Bender gets another one.
It's obvious when you hear it.
my memory that was.
It was so that is the first round. So it's Mark Hughes, Mauricio Pochettino, and Gary O'Neill. We're moving on to another question now. Still a commentary clip, but another question. Your question for 4, 5, and 6. Number 4 first. What stadium did this take place at?
In comes the corner. Bazunu's up there, and somehow they find a way through the crowd. Southampton strike with seconds to spare.
So has there even been a buzz yet?
No.
There's not been a buzz. First person
no
to buzz.
idea.
Gotta keep thinking. So it's Gavin Bazunu and Rainey, I believe, either Tuesday or Wednesday night.
He did. I can't remember his.
Bazunu up from the corner. It didn't count as a Bazunu goal. We've got
I'm
a
gonna
first buzz,
gonna
a
risk
point.
it. Was it St Andrews of Birmingham?
No, it was
No.
not. Same kind of the same colour of the team I'd describe it as, but it's not St Andrews. We've got Nathan Rawlings.
Is it Loftus Road?
It is not Loftus Road, not QPR. Charlie Bender, Freddie Kilby. Which ground did Gavin Bazunu have a helping hand in the last minute for Saints? So I believe pulled them level. It was in the Championship last year. Freddie Kilby.
Ewood Park.
It's not Ewood Park. This leaves Charlie Bender the last to get it.
What? It's a blue team.
It's kind. They've definitely got blue on their badge. They wear white. They wear white shirts.
Is it?
They are playing today. They host West Brom at home in the Championship
I'm
today.
gonna look stupid now. I don't think I know the name of the stadium.
If you can give me the team, I will take the team.
Is it Preston?
It is Preston,
Oh, wow.
Deepdale.
Does he get that?
Yeah, we'll give it to him.
Outrageously.
So it's Charlie Bender raced into a 3-1 lead.
3-1 lead, yeah.
3-1 lead. Freddie Kilby, Nathan Rawlings. Do you describe them as in the mud?
Yes.
No points so far. Question number 5 again. What stadium did this take place at?
For Notts County, saved by Foster.
It was at the racecourse.
It
against
was at the
Wrexham.
racecourse ground. Freddie Dorman,
Ben
halves
Foster,
the
what a
gap.
guy.
The National League
Go throw in the
gets a goal. GoPro failed in that game
It
though,
did,
pretty
it
famously.
did,
Ran
yeah.
out of battery. Okay, question number 6. Same question. What stadium did this take place at?
It now with Ericsson pushed out by Harrison comes Wanyama!
Freddie Dorman in again.
It was against my team, so it was at Anfield
It
against
was
Liverpool.
at Anfield. The Victor Wanyama, absolute screamer. Genuinely one of the best Premier League goals ever, I think.
Yes, it
Just
was.
the way it ripples off the net is such a.
I think the goal Southampton scored last night was really good, but then it was ruled out for offside.
Well, we'll get to that later.
Oh.
You can't reveal the gold already. So, question number 7 of the commentary round. We're moving away. We're going a bit more complex thinking now.
Oh God.
What record, and all of these apply to the Premier League, what record was broken in this game?
Forward play to Bruyne. Gabriel Jesus!
We've got a Freddie Dorman buzz already. Freddie Dorman, what was the record?
That was Manchester City breaking the 100 points in the Premier League.
Ding, 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 it was. Freddie Dorman has
On fire, I've come back.
recovered the ghost. He leads by 4-3. Freddie Kilby, Nathan Rawlings.
You can play,
What's
guys.
playing, guys?
Are they going to play or not?
We're slow burners.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Question number 8. Again, still, what record was broken in this game? This one's a bit of a thinker.
Be more to come. Nkunku. Off the bench. And maybe, just maybe, a winner for Chelsea.
Freddie Kilby with a buzz right at the death.
I feel like is it like the quickest goal for a debutant or something?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Freddie Kilby frozen out of this round. To give a little bit of a hint, I've gone a bit rogue with this one. That goal had nothing to do with the record. That was it was the only goal in the game. It was this season for Chelsea against a team. I don't want to give it away too much, but there was a record broken. Nothing to do with that goal.
Was it a rival team?
No, it wasn't a rival team. It was, to be fair, on paper at the start of the game, it looked like a pretty inconsequential game, but it broke a Premier League record for something to do with discipline.
Most yellow cards.
Most yellow cards. Charlie Bender didn't buzz.
Oh, I didn't buzz.
Didn't buzz.
Most yellow cards.
Charlie Bender gets it. All legal. Tied at 4-4.
Was it for the celebration, the yellow card? Or
No, so
what?
it had nothing to do with the goal. That game.
Oh, that game, that's
that
the
game
game.
had
Got
the
you,
most
got
yellow
you,
cards.
yeah.
It broke the record. Chelsea versus Bournemouth this year. I believe
He did
Anthony
explain,
Taylor was the referee that did it because he was due to referee the Saints game the following weekend, but was made fourth official because of the online abuse
Oh.
that Anthony Taylor sadly received.
My buzzer's broken, apparently.
Can we have a
your
Nathan
brain
Rawlings
has been-
buzzer test?
He's been pressing it loads.
Gotta give it.
Fading off.
Got to give it a proper wellie. Last question of this sub-question, if you will. Which record was broken in this game on a rainy Friday night? We've had a Freddie Dorman buzz already.
I feel it's the highest scoring game, like the biggest gap between the. There's 9 goals in it. You know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know. I don't know if I can get it.
I think we've
Yeah.
got to give it to him. It's the biggest ever away win
That's
in the
the-
Premier
yeah.
League. Can we come to a
Yeah,
consensus
I'd have it.
there?
That's the only one he gets away with, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Freddie Dorman, you've
4-4
used
back
your
in the
yellow
game.
card.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that.
So that question 9. Question 9? Question. Of course, Charlie Bender got a question right. Did I? Or have I miscounted? Is it 4-4?
It's 4-4. It is 4-4. Yeah.
It is 4-4.
Yeah.
So, the last question of this round, and this one, you don't buzz in. So, I saw Charlie go for the buzzer, but we don't buzz in. We're going to do closest to him. We're going to go in reverse order. So, we're going to come to Nathan Rawlings first,
Thank
then
you.
Freddie Kilby, and then whoever I feel between Charlie and Freddie Dorman.
Why is Nathan ultimately losing then?
Rock, paper, scissors, I reckon.
Yeah, rock between you just before while we
favouritism.
get this set up. Do rock paper scissors between the last and the first two people to go through.
We've had 2 scissors. We've had a scissor and a paper,
right,
and
Nathan
Rawlings has
Rawlings
won.
wins.
So
He's done
Nathan
it.
Rawlings goes first for this question, then
Okay.
Freddie Kilby, then
Okay.
Charlie Bender,
Here
then
we go.
Freddie Dorman.
Oh.
So your question is, what minute did this moment take place in the game?
Eden Hazard finds Cesc Fabregas. Back to Hazard. Took it away from Costa. It's Matic with the ball driver. Matic takes the net off.
So Matic took the net off.
FA Cup, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to give away your gold quite yet. Keep it up in the top. Nathan Rawlings, what do you think minute that took place at?
Tell you the truth, I've got absolutely no idea. I don't know if that's become evident because I haven't buzzed at all. I'm going to guess 71.
71 for Nathan Rawlings, who's in the FA Cup semi-final. I believe Nemanja Matic scoring to make it 4-2 against Tottenham Hotspur. Freddie Kilby, your guess?
Well, I remember watching this game clear as day, but I don't remember when the goal came, so I'm going to guess 63rd minute.
63rd minute for Freddie Kilby. Charlie Bender?
Well, I was gonna go for somewhere in the 50s, but then you said it was to make it 4-2. So I'm gonna go somewhere in the 50s. I'm gonna go 57.
57. Big change. Could that change? Come to gain Charlie Bender, his first point of the afternoon. And Freddie Dorman?
Yeah, like Freddie, I knew the goal. I just didn't know what the minute was. I'm just going to go 81st.
81st minute for Freddie Dorman. So we've got Nathan Rawlings on 71, Freddie Kilby on 63, Charlie Bender on 57, Freddie Dorman on 81. One of you is 1 minute away, chaps. Very, very close. It's Freddie Dorman. It was the 80th minute of the game. It was
I thought it was late on, but I wasn't sure.
I should have more faith in Spurs next time.
Freddie Dorman takes the lead, makes it 5-4. I incorrectly said a moment ago that Charlie didn't have any points. Charlie's got 4.
It's all right, Nathan. We'll get a point on the board.
5-4. End of the commentary round, chaps.
Oh,
So you've used your ears, and you've got to use your brain a little bit
This
more.
is where I shine.
So we're going to start with 5 questions from the Premier League. These are all buzz-in.
Yep.
So, or pretty much they're all buzz-in. This first one definitely is. So, chaps, question number 1 in the Premier League section. Who scored the 20,000th Premier League goal? There's some real head scratchers here.
How am I supposed to know
Was it this season?
No, it was 2011. Maybe
Oh,
2011,
call quite a way off
2012.
then.
You would describe this person as a Barclaysman. He's a Premier League winner. Freddie Kilby.
Peter Crouch.
Not Peter Crouch. Was Peter
Good
Crouch a
shout.
Premier League winner?
I don't think he
I don't
was.
think he ever did win the Premier
I'll
League.
just throw a suggestion out.
Freddie Kilby froze it out of this question. I don't think he's a conventional Barclaysman.
Can Barclays men win the Premier League?
Barclaysman can win the Premier League. This is the most outlandish Premier League ever that he won. He won it with Leicester City,
Jamie Vardy.
not Jamie Vardy.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, he's double buzzed.
I didn't mean to do that.
He's double buzzed, frozen out between Nathan Rawlings and Charlie Bender. He won the league with Leicester, but he did not score the 20,000th Premier League goal with Leicester. He scored it with Aston Villa.
Oh, I know who it is.
He scored it against Arsenal. Nathan Rawlings,
Oh, I'm going to say something really. Yuri Tielemans?
not Yuri
In
Tielemans.
2011.
I know who it is. I know who it is.
Charlie Bender.
Do we get to come back in if he gets it wrong?
Yes, you can
Right,
come back in.
I know who it is.
He- I'm not going to give you too much of a clue. I've given you a fair amount of clues already.
Oh,
I'm not telling you because I'll buzz back in.
a Barclays man for Leicester.
He has the name of another team in his name.
No, don't say that.
I'm still not gonna get it. I'm actually gonna pass. I'm intrigued. to see
You're
what
going to
Fred has
put
to
Freddie
say.
Dorman has jumped on that immediately.
It's
and
Mark
come straight forward.
Albrighton.
It is Mark Albrighton. Scored the 20,000th Premier League goal, earned £20,000 and donated it to charity.
Good lad.
Have you seen the TikTok, the
I
Instagram
have.
reel that's going around?
Yes,
Come
it's
on.
been Ben Foster's podcast,
I believe
wasn't
it was Ben
It was,
Foster's
yeah.
podcast. Two mentions for Ben Foster already
What
in
a
the
guy.
show.
The Foscast.
Don't come as bad. I said Tielemans.
He's not a Barclays man.
Question number 2, because we've got to jump on. One team that has played in the Premier League no longer play in the top 4 leagues. Who is it? Other than defunct Wimbledon. Only one team
In the Premier League.
that had played in the Premier League before no longer plays football in the top 4 English leagues. Freddie Dorman.
Oh, that's completely wrong. I was going to say Tranmere. That's not even right.
Not
at all.
Tranmere, no, never played in the Premier League. Freddie Dorman frozen out. Freddie Kilby.
Oldham.
Oldham. Freddie Kilby picks up
that's
his
a
first
great
point
shout.
of the afternoon. What a start. 5-5-1-0.
Yeah,
Nathan
thanks for rubbing it in.
Rawlings.
Thank you.
We've got a point
Or,
on the board.
or better known, Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question number 3.
Christ.
What team is bottom of the all-time Premier League table? Some thinking going on here. Freddie Kilby.
Sheffield United.
Not Sheffield United. Charlie Bender.
Derby.
Not Derby County. They've had a number of seasons in the Premier League. This team has only played in the Premier League once. One season.
Ooh.
Between Nathan Rawlings, Freddie Dorman. Some staunch thinking going on. Nathan Rawlings.
QPR?
Not QPR, Barclays team. This team only had one season in the Premier League. Freddie Dorman.
I can't even think of a team off the top of my head. I'm actually going to pass. I
You're going to pass.
I can't even think of a team.
Opens back up.
One team in
They've played once in the Premier League.
once in the Premier League.
It was last season. Nathan Rawlings.
Luton Town?
Luton Town.
He's got a
He's
point.
got a point.
He's done
And
it.
it's on the orange team as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Orange
It's
team.
meant to be. It's meant to
I had
be.
Huddersfield in my head, but I didn't come out.
They
Oh,
are
I'm thinking
fifth bottom, I
Cardiff.
do believe.
Fifth
They are.
bottom,
They have the lowest points total of any team to play multiple seasons.
What is
Oh,
this
okay.
points total?
I can't remember. I didn't have it written down.
Oh,
But-
bad prep.
It is Swindon is second bottom, which tells you everything. But that's because they played when the Premier League had 42 games. Question number 4: Who is the youngest ever person to manage in the Premier League?
The youngest.
Yes, Freddie Kilby.
Ryan Mason.
Ryan
Oh,
Mason,
comeback.
what a start.
Yeah,
Brilliant
the
from Freddie
comeback
Kilby.
was on.
Claws it back.
That's Tottenham knowledge.
Question number 5. Which fixture has the highest ever attendance? So we're picking a single game, but you have to get the fixture, the two teams that played. The highest ever single attendance.
In the Premier League? Or
In the
should-
Premier League,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
sorry. Freddie Kilby.
Tottenham versus Arsenal.
Tottenham versus Arsenal
I believe.
at Wembley Stadium, January
Try not to have a
2018.
Tottenham question.
Yeah, comeback is on for Freddie Kilby.
He's pulled it back to within 2. Nathan Rawlings, still in the mud, to be honest.
All right.
Yuri Tielemans, sorry.
Yeah.
The FA Cup round starts now. Question number 6. How many FA Cups do Arsenal and Manchester United have put together?
No.
Nathan Rawlings.
I'm going to say 24.
Incorrect, Nathan Rawlings. 24 is close. Freddie
20.
Kilby. 20 is incorrect. Even further away. Freddie Dorman.
25.
25, no. Charlie Bender.
26.
26, no.
Oh.
It is 27. We're going to give Charlie Bender the point. for being
I was
closest.
ready to buzz in again. God, I need all the
What, an
help I
answer,
can get.
Yuri Tielemans?
I need all the help I can get, all right?
3.
Question number 7. This is rogue, so bear with me.
Oh, good.
The scorer of the first ever FA Cup final goal was a gentleman called Morton Betts, but his pseudonym derived from which alternative game similar to chess? Freddie Dorman.
Oh, checkers.
Checker. It was
Yes.
A.H. Checker scored the first ever goal. He
Wow.
actually played for Checker's school in the first round, so when he played for Wanderers in the final, wasn't able to use his own name. So an eligible player is the first ever scorer of the FA Cup. Question number
Crazy.
8. How many full rounds are there in the FA Cup? Or how many rounds are there in the full edition of the FA Cup? We'll do closest to again. But I want you to buzz in, chaps, when you think you know it. And we haven't got too much time because we've got some great questions coming through. Nathan Rawlings.
12.
12 is incorrect. At least he's put his neck on the line and gone for it.
I don't want to be the first guess and be completely wrong. I don't.
Go on then.
Yeah, I've got. Oh,
Right.
let's have a guess now. Make myself look like an idiot.
Very good.
14.
14 is
Oh, it's
correct.
what
Freddie
he does.
Dorman up to 7 points.
It's a complete guess.
That's why you don't dilly-dally, you
Yeah.
two.
Yeah, you too.
Question number 9. Who has made the most FA Cup appearances for a single club? I'll give you a hint. The club is Manchester United.
Single.
So he's made
Michael
Charlie
Carrick.
Bender. Not Michael Carrick. No, he played a fair bit longer than Michael Carrick. He played at a similar time for Freddie Dorman.
Oh, that was in past tense. I was going to say Johnny Evans, but
Not Johnny Evans, no. Probably,
What's his name?
if Johnny Evans hadn't moved away, he probably would have done. Nathan Rawlings.
Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs is
Oh,
correct.
wow.
I was going to say Darren Fletcher.
74 he played for Manchester
My
United
second
in
guess
the
you
FA
knew
Cup.
that.
Goals. So.
Ryan Giggs is my specialty subject, apparently.
I don't know why Darren Fletcher came on mine.
And to sum up the FA Cup round, 2 clubs have the most losses in FA Cup history with 106. Can you name one of them?
Most losses.
Most losses, so individual losses in the FA Cup with 106.
Across all rounds.
Yes. Well, obviously, you can only lose once a season.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a knockout competition.
Is it an obvious choice?
They've both been historic clubs for quite a long time.
Okay.
Freddie Kilby.
Sheffield FC.
Not Sheffield FC, no. It's a good answer, but they went through a long period without playing in the FA Cup.
Oh. So it's not a good answer then.
Freddie Dorman.
Someone else can go next. I'm
I don't know. Blackburn.
No, Charlie
Yeah,
Bender,
that's the one I
not
had in my head.
Blackburn. Freddie Dorman. Oh, Nathan Rawlings,
yeah,
sorry.
thank you. Notts County.
Not Notts County, no.
I'm-
Similar colours to Notts County.
I was going to say Bradford, but
Not Bradford.
yeah, I was going to say Bradford, but
In fact, we're not even going to apply for an answer here. It's Newcastle and Fulham. both with 106 losses. I think Newcastle, they played more for a while.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Sheffield FC were quite a long-standing.
Yeah.
Next up, move down the pyramid from the Premier League into the FA Cup, which I guess is kind of across to the side, into the EFL. This first one's a championship question. Who is top of the all-time EFL Championship table? This is Freddie Kilby.
Sheffield United.
Incorrect.
Don't know why I said that.
There's one person in this room that would have a better knowledge of this club due to geography from where they're originally from.
Producer Will.
Not producer Will. It's not Salisbury, don't you worry, Will.
Jeez, that's it.
I feel like
Some thoughts here. They have played in the Premier League, obviously. Not for 5 or 6 seasons. Currently reside in the Championship. Nathan Rawlings?
You made a geography comment. One of our resident panellists is Welshman, so I'm going to go with Cardiff City.
Cardiff City is correct. Nathan Rawlings.
The
pulls
comeback
up the
is on.
Welsh knowledge. Scores on the doors. Currently 7 for Freddie Dorman, 3 for Freddie Kilby, 6 for Charlie Bender, and Nathan Rawlings is tied up last with 3.
Oh, maybe the comeback's not on then.
Question number 12 overall for this general knowledge themed football round. This is a question I'm really proud of. How many sets of twins have played in League One?
Christ.
Oh my God.
So they might not necessarily have played together, but you have one twin, you have another twin. They've both played in League One.
Maybe we have a range because I feel like this is a very rogue question.
It's less than 10.
Okay, right.
Freddie Dorman.
6.
6 is correct. He's pulled it out of the
I'm
bag.
so good at this
immediately.
guessing.
I'm resigning for this quiz now.
I can go through. They are the Chambers twins, the Murphy twins, the Cadden twins, the Sarkic twins, the Craig twins, and the Kelly
Craig
Evans
twins?
twins. No, the Craig twins. One of them, Matthew Craig. So
Oh,
HD
Matthew
Gamer
Craig.
played in League One.
Matthew Craig and his brother plays. They both played for Spurs Academy.
Craig David.
Michael Craig.
Michael Craig, that's it.
Question number 13, and this one's even more rogue.
Oh God.
Haji Mononga has the record for the fastest ever debut red card in League Two. But how many minutes did it take for him to be sent off? Charlie Bender right away.
Was it before the game even started?
No, it wasn't. He's gone in bold and it's not worked. I'll give you within 2 minutes each time. So within 2 minutes from before the game would be 2 minutes into the game, so you're incorrect. Some real thinking going on here. He was sent off for 2 yellow cards.
Okay.
2 yellows. Nathan Rawlings.
6 minutes.
6 minutes is incorrect. He picked up his first yellow card on minute 6.
Well, that's
Give
the
everyone
fastest
clues
red
after,
card
right?
in League Two.
Fastest red card for a debutant.
Oh, okay.
So Freddie Dorman has buzzed in when Freddie Kilby was about to speak.
9 minutes.
9 minutes is technically correct. It was 10 minutes. He was booked on 6 minutes and sent off on 10 minutes into his debut for Gillingham, which is... I don't know whether it's impressive or not.
I'm really good at guessing, aren't I?
Up to 9 points now. So we move away from the EFL, move down to the National League. Another eternal table question. Who's top of the all-time National League table? It's quite an obvious answer. Haven't played in the National League for 2 years now. Nathan Rawlings.
Is it Wrexham?
It is Wrexham. I know, I was coming in with the clues, but you've got to go. Nathan Rawlings is now no
I
longer
need all the
bottom.
help I can get, so yeah, keep them
No
coming.
longer bottom. And then next up for the National League, what team has the most drawn games in the National League South, chaps? As a ding come through from Nathan Rawlings.
Is it Chippenham Town?
It is Chippenham Town.
Wow.
What a question.
I heard
What
they're
an
the
answer.
smallest club in
What a
Wiltshire.
team.
Just saying.
Okay.
That's can I dock points? Producer Will, do I have the ability to dock points?
You can't dock them off me.
I feel like you can, Jamie, personally.
I feel if it's worth its value, then yes, you can dock
I
points.
reckon that is valid personally. I think we should have a group vote. I reckon that's a valid.
And we've got to be careful as well with defamation of football teams.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I reckon
So
that's 3 points.
we'll cut that down.
We have to stay woke in this show.
Move it down to the local division. So we're talking about local football now, and it's kind of moving away from Saturday football into Sunday football. How many divisions are there in the City of Southampton Sunday League?
Are we including University of Southampton Sunday League?
No,
League
City of Southampton Sunday League.
Sorry.
How many divisions?
There's more than you'd think.
7. 7.
Incorrect.
Oh.
He's gone for a bold strategy, but it's not. Okay, this is again under 10. Nathan Rawlings.
8.
8 is correct. He's on a roll. Freddie is so upset.
You get smart.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Really.
You got to learn to
I didn't
count.
see it.
Just because your team might be in the 8th division.
Oh, sorry, we're in University of Southampton, 3rd division actually.
Ooh, sorry. Next up, sticking with local football. I felt quite bad when going through this quiz. This is the only question on women's football because Transfermarkt is awful for women's football. How many times have Southampton women, the Sirens, won the FA Cup?
Dave emailed us.
Dave did email this.
8.
Correct,
Wow.
Freddie Kilby. Straight off the bat.
I'll read Dave Riley's emails.
Shout out, Dave Riley.
Also not, because in the email, the little attachment bit, he said Southampton FC women, and then underneath he said Southampton women FC.
He's got that. He's had an absolute
Inconsistent.
mare.
Comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's the FC.
Next up, I mentioned to you chaps earlier that we've got quite an absurd round coming up.
Oh, I love that.
This round is the Obafemi Martins round.
Christ
Oh, God.
alive.
So there's 3 questions for you on Obafemi Martins.
Oh, brilliant.
First up, when is Obafemi Martins' birthday? I'm going to get you all to answer, and whoever's closest wins. Nathan Rawlings wants to answer first.
Yeah, I don't want to answer first. I'm going to go for the 24th of April.
24th of April, I believe your birthday, or very close to your birthday.
The
something
round
like
to my
that.
birthday.
So 24th of April for Nathan Rawlings. Who's up next to come in?
Stick with birthdays, I'll do mine, 9th of May.
9th of May for Freddie Dorman. Freddie Kilby and Charlie Bender. Freddie Kilby.
I feel like he's a 21st of March baby.
21st of March, baby. We're going very early into the year.
Yeah, he just gives me those vibes.
I agree.
Obafemi Martins, is he an early boy? Is he a late boy?
I'm going to go November the 2nd.
November the 2nd for Charlie Bender, and you're within 5 days, Charlie. 28th of October, 1984. So Charlie Bender claws back another
Unbelievable.
point. He's just 2 points from the lead.
Very proud of myself. for that
Question
one.
number 19, also for Obafemi Martins again. For which professional team did he score the most goals for? Nathan Rawlings.
I'm going to go for a rogue one. I'm going to say Seattle Sounders.
Seattle Sounders is correct. 3.5
on.
seasons he spent in the northwest of North America. He played 72 games and scored 40 league goals for them. So Nathan
Really
Rawlings
amateurly now,
with a
aren't
point
I?
there. And the final Obafemi Martins question, which I know you're all gutted about. How many joint goal contributions did Obafemi Martins have with James Milner across his entire career?
Pardon?
So how many goals did Obafemi Martins and James Milner combine for? So either assist or goal, like for each other. So Martins to Milner goal, or Milner to Martins goal. Freddie Dorman in first.
20.
20 is incorrect. They only played with each other for Newcastle. Charlie Bender.
17.
17 is incorrect.
0.
Freddie Kilby is incorrect.
Oh, so
Nathan Rawlings doesn't even need to buzz
No.
if he wants to.
11.
11 is incorrect. I'm going to go with the closest just to save on time. It's actually Freddie Kilby who picks up the point. They have 3.
Well done, Freddie Kilby.
They played together 66 times for 4,513 minutes, all at Newcastle. So Freddie Kilby has picked up, and he's the last person to reach the 5-point mark. We're up next. We've got 10 questions on player careers, but we've not got too long to do them, so I'm going to have to absolutely shoot through them. Up first, or I see there's some movement as I think some teams have come up. Should we skip this round, chaps, and let you crack on with it?
No, we can do it.
We got the
Yeah.
quiz. We got some time.
One more round.
So up first, so we got the career path buzz. I'm going to start from the start of their senior career and go through. There's one goalkeeper in this list, and I'll tell you when it's the goalkeeper, just to save me reading out the goals. So at first, he started his career in 2001 at Beveren. Was there for 2 years till 2003, where he joined Metale Donetsk. And then in 2005, moved to Olympiacos, where he played 1 season before joining Monaco in 2006. And then in 2007, joined Barcelona. Freddie Kilby.
Fabregas.
Cesc Fabregas is incorrect.
I got a bit carried away.
Freddie Kilby frozen out. In 2010, he left Barcelona and joined Manchester City, where he was there for 8 seasons. Nathan Rawlings.
Yaya Toure.
Yaya Toure is correct. Nathan Rawlings picks that one up. I'll be honest, it was a toss-up between Yaya or Kolo Toure. Next up, this is one that I know certainly somebody around this table will have some interest in. Started his career at Aston Villa in 2010, where he joined the senior team, and left in 2015. In that time, he was on loan at Watford in 2 separate spells in 2011. Left Aston Villa in 2015 to join Derby County for 3 seasons.
Andreas Weimann.
Andreas Weimann is correct. Charlie
Great shout.
Bender.
Great good shout.
Question number 3. Started his professional career in 2009, where he was at Arsenal. Never made a senior appearance in the league for them, and he spent the first half of the season on loan at Yeovil Town. 2010, he joined Yeovil Town on a permanent deal for 4 seasons, where he made 162 league appearances. And then he left Yeovil to join Bristol City in 2014, where he was for 2 seasons. He left Bristol City in 2016 to join Leeds United, where he spent 8 years, taking him from 2016 to 2024. And in 2024, he also had a loan to Middlesbrough, where he joined them permanently in the summer. A young right back, or not a young right back anymore. He's part of the most remembered for Leeds, Charlie Bender.
Luke Ayling.
Luke Ayling is correct. Charlie Bender rocking
Of course it is.
Luke Ayling.
this quiz so far, certainly this round of the quiz. Next up, here is our goalkeeper. Started in 1995 at Ipswich Town, where he made 240 appearances and left in 2001 to join Arsenal. He spent 1 year at Arsenal, made 12 appearances before joining Everton in 2002 till 2007. He then spent a year after that at West Ham, where he failed to make an appearance but went out on loan to Southampton for 7 games in 2008. He rejoined Ipswich at the end of 2008, where he was until 2010, and went to Sheffield United for a season before going back to Ipswich. And then from 2012 to 2016, he was at Manchester City as the 3rd choice goalkeeper. Never made a league appearance. He's currently a goalkeeper coach at Manchester City. Absolutely stumped. Some of you are. He played 2 games. He played 2 games for England.
Can you go through him again quickly?
Charlie Bender.
Rob Green.
Rob Green is incorrect.
Probably played more for England.
So I'll read through. I won't give the days, but I'll give the teams in order. Ipswich, Arsenal, Everton, West Ham, Southampton on loan, Ipswich, Sheffield United, Ipswich, Preston, Manchester City. Retired in 2016.
Manchester City goalkeeper.
He never played a league game for Manchester City. You'll probably remember him just being on the bench. Similar to what Scott Carson does now, but it's not Scott Carson for obvious reasons. I remember him most from his Arsenal days, even though he only played 12 league games. But I remember him signing for Arsenal, I remember knowing that he signed for Arsenal. It's not Richard Wrong.
It's Richard Wright.
It's Richard Wright. I'm going to give it to Freddie Kilby because no one else was
Fair
getting
enough.
close
I
to
can't
it.
argue
I don't know who that is.
Don't Richard Wright. Cracking player.
I don't know.
I don't know who he is either.
You don't know Richard Wright?
No.
Played for Arsenal. He played for Manchester City for 4 years, chaps.
On the bench.
Next up,
Yeah, right.
so I don't know why I was nearly going to tell you his name. Started his career at Arsenal in 2001, where he stayed until 2007. 3 separate loans in there to Celtic, West Ham and Wolves. 3 years then at Middlesbrough, 2007 to 2010. 3 years at Lorient. And then 2 years at Sal. 2016, he was, I believe, somewhere in the Middle East for Mustafa. And then 2016 to Lorient. It's a Frenchman.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he French?
It's a French striker for Arsenal between 2001 and 2007, where he's most well known. Although he did play a fair few games for Middlesbrough, 2007 to 2010.
French striker, 2001.
He's got a cracking name.
Oh, you ain't got a clue.
Absolute cracking name.
Either.
I'll beat you to Jeremy Aladier.
Oh,
Yeah, obviously.
I forgot about him.
Some
Yeah.
Frenchmen. Some
Should've got
Frenchmen.
that.
Question number 7. This is somebody who's in one of your team's squads today, so somebody's got to be thinking about this. Started his senior career at Derby County, 2019 to 2021, before joining Swansea City, 2021 to 2023. He was on loan at Lincoln City in 2022, alongside, I do believe, Morgan Rogers. Brennan Johnson, on loan at Lincoln City that time. And he joined Plymouth Argyle on loan in 22-23, where he permanently resides now.
Oh, I should get this then, but I'm not going to.
I'm going to just... Is it Obafemi?
It's not
The only
Obafemi.
one I can think of is at Plymouth.
Nathan Rawlings?
is it Morgan Whittaker?
It is Morgan Whittaker.
See,
Nathan
this is my
Rawlings
bag,
goes
not these
back.
commentary clips. This is career paths.
Well, I got some news about him.
got something. Hopefully, I wonder if he's going to score today.
Probably
Next
not.
up, starting in 2020 with Manchester City, where he spent 4 years. He left permanently this year, but he had loans at Stoke, Preston, and Hull City. Freddie Dorman buzzes in.
Liam Delap.
It is Liam Delap. Someone's doing the Ipswich game, I can tell. You're not doing the Ipswich
I'm not doing the
game.
Ipswich
No,
game,
I
no,
am.
but
Thank you.
really should have got that, Nathan.
Freddie
Thank you,
Dorman,
mate.
the first to reach double digits. Next up, we've got a man who started his career at Southampton in 2018, where he stayed permanently until 2021. He made just 1 league appearance for Southampton. I believe he made 4 league minutes for Southampton. He spent time on loan at Woking, Hartford, and Gillingham on loan before joining Gillingham permanently. Before 2 seasons at Woking, and then Dagenham and Redbridge on loan, Chelmsford City on loan, and he joined Chippenham Town permanently in 2023.
Jesus Christ.
Can you give us a position?
I'll give you a position. He's a winger, a wide player.
Oh, thank you for that.
For the amount of times
clarification.
I've
No worries.
hung out with you and you spoken about Chippenham, can I name any Chippenham wingers?
Pele.
It is not Pele Kawasi. No. He's a central midfielder, Freddie. Brush up on your knowledge.
Sorry.
Nathan Rawlings.
Is it Jordan? He's shaking your head already. You can't give me that.
But his name's not Jordan.
Oh, okay, I got it wrong then.
I'll give you this one, chaps, because we're coming up towards the end of the quiz. It's Tyreek Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
I know him.
So you're all coming in. He played 4 league minutes for Southampton against Arsenal in a 2-1 win for Saints. Got challenged by Matteo Guendouzi. And last up for the career path question. He started with Dulwich Hamlet in 2010. This one gets easier as we go on. He spent 6 years at Dulwich Hamlet, as well as a loan to Holmesdale United in 2011. I don't think that'll help. He spent a year at Forest Green between 2016 and 2017, before signing for Barnsley for 2 seasons between 2017 and 2019, where he moved up to Brentford in 2019, where he still plays to this day. So 5-6 seasons at Brentford, 177 league appearances
Who
for
was he at
Brentford.
before Brentford, sorry?
He was at Barnsley.
Barnsley to Brentford.
2 seasons. He has played for England's C team once, but he doesn't play for England anymore.
Oh.
Plays for Jamaica. Freddie Dorman.
Is it Rico Henry?
It is not Rico Henry. Nathan Rawlings.
Is it Ethan Pinnock?
It is Ethan Pinnock. Nathan Rawlings picks it up. And that's our last question. So I'll tell you what, we're going to a tie break, chaps.
Is there really a tiebreak?
There is a tie break. Give a
Between who?
well, between Nathan Rawlings and Freddie Dorman,
You're
surprisingly.
joking. The
So
comeback.
Unbelievable.
for the win. Charlie Bender, you've missed out by a point. You had 9 points.
Yeah.
Wow.
Scores on the doors. Freddie Dorman and Nathan Rawlings on 10. Freddie Kilby on 6. Charlie Bender on 9. So we are just awaiting the loading up
Freddie.
of the tiebreaker question. It's a commentary clip question,
Oh.
Okay, I did it right in the first round of these.
but it is basically just guess a random number.
Okay.
Okay, brilliant.
So good luck. So you're going to be guessing the attendance of
All right.
the question.
Please be at Anfield. Please be at Anfield.
Give us a moment while we try and sort this one out. In fact, let me scroll through. I might have another question in here somewhere. In fact, we do. We have the tiebreak question. It's actually not going to be a commentary one. I do apologise. That one's decided to not work today. But we have a career path question.
Oh no.
And I'll tell you what, it's another one that starts at Arsenal.
Oh, well, that's not fair.
It's a well-known one. I
Hey,
think.
I'm an
alright.
objective sports journalist.
He never played for Arsenal in the league. Joined the first team in 2009. He actually played in the Champions League for them. 3 seasons he was in Arsenal's first team, but he spent time on loan to Sheffield United twice and Rangers twice. He left Arsenal in 2012 to join Swansea City, where he was at for 4 seasons, spending one of those on loan at Birmingham and another one on loan at Leeds. He signed permanently for West Bromwich Albion in 2016, from where he is to this day. Freddie Dorman has buzzed in.
You said where he is to this day.
Still at West Brom to this day.
You were going to say Serge Gnabry.
I
weren't
was going to say that, but
Oh.
I'm now just because I don't know if he's still there. Is it Kieran Gibbs? But
It
he's
is
played
not
for Arsenal, hasn't he?
Kieran Gibbs. Mine is a centre half.
you? So I've got to guess a centre half from
West Brom.
West Brom. Semi Ajayi.
Not Semi Ajayi. Freddie Dorman back in it.
Is it Carl Bartley?
It is Carl Bartley!
Wow, he's won it.
Freddie Dorman is your Solon Sports News Soccer Night quiz champion.
Well played. Well played.
everyone.
Soccer Night. I mean, we're in a dark
points.
studio or an artificially lit studio, and that brings us to 1:15, chaps. And we are on to some team news. Probably a more pertinent point is to get to some team news. I believe we've got some people away at grounds that we are not going to come to yet. So we're going to come to some people in the studio. Chaps, have you got your team news ready from the games you're watching? Charlie Bender, would you like to go first as our championship presenter today? You are doing Bristol City versus Plymouth. Tell us the team news, Charlie.
In the championship, Bristol City have gone with Max O'Leary 100% of the games, as has Zach Viner, who Nathan actually learnt from his mum, Year 7 art, because she teaches at his school. We've got Rob Dickey, Luke McNally, Cameron Pring. That makes up the defence. Captain Jason Knight in midfield, along with Max Bird. Hirakawa and Scott Twine will be the two wingers and Anis Mehmeti. Sorry, Twine in the middle, Hirakawa on the right, Mehmeti on the left, and Naki Wells up top. He's scored 5 goals this season. For the away side for Plymouth, Dan Grimshaw in goals, Ballymunba, Plegazuelo, Lewis Gibson, Victor Paulson in defence, and we've got Adam Forshaw, Adam Randall, Jordan Houghton, Freddie Asaka, Nathaniel Better, and Ryan Hardy. He was originally set to miss this game, but they have managed to get him in the starting lineup, so that could be very exciting for Plymouth fans.
That's your championship team news. We're going to move up to the Premier League. We're going to go to a reporter who's out around the grounds. Millie Payne is in Wolverhampton today. Millie, can you tell us what's the team news like there for your game?
Hi Jamie, I'm live from Molineux this afternoon as Wolves host AFC Bournemouth. For Wolves, they've named an unchanged side since their last meeting, that fantastic win against Fulham. In goal, we've got Jose Sarr with Nelson Semedo, Mario Lemina, Totti Gomez and Ryan Aït-Nouri making up the back four, with Andre, João Gomez and Rodrigo Gomez in the midfield. It's quite hard to keep up with Rodrigo Gomez who's in this team. And then up front, we've got John Risa Belgrade, Morgan Strand Larsen and that prolific goal scorer Mateus Cunha. And for Bournemouth, they've made 2 starting changes, one forced through Semenyo's suspension after receiving 5 yellow cards. So in goal, we've got Kepa with Adam Smith, Ilya Zabani, Marcos Zanetti and Milos Kerkez making up the back 4. Ryan Christie and Tyler Adams make up that midfield. Dusty Clive just in front of them in the number 10 role. And then we've got David Brooks, Evan Nielsen and Marcos Tavernier there in that front 3. On the subs bench for Wolves, we've got Sam Johnston, goalkeeper, Matt Doherty, Santiago Bueno, Juan Hee Chan, Craig Dawson, Tommy Doyle, Pablo Sarabia, Carlos Forbes and Gonçalo Guedes. And for Bournemouth, it's Mark Travers as a goalkeeper, Dean Hyson, Dango Ratara, James Hill, Enezu Now, Philip Billing, Max Aarons, Benjamin Winterburn and Max Watkins.
Thank you very much. That's Millie Payne watching Wolves versus Bournemouth in the Premier League. We're going to momentarily drop down to the Championship. We've got Harrison Richards watching Coventry versus Cardiff. There's some big news at Coventry with the manager taking over the week. Harrison Richards tells us the team news and, of course, that big news.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm at the Coventry Building Society Arena, obviously covering Coventry beat Cardiff. The stands are filling, as you can hear. The music is blasted for this clash between 17th and 21st. It might be too early in the season to call this a relegation 6-pointer, but one thing for certain is that it's massive for the players and both men in the dugout. Obviously, this is Frank Lampard's first game, and he has made 2 changes to his lineup. As we expected, he switched to a back 4. We've got Rodoni coming into the side for Latiboa, and it's a change up top, as Mason Clark is preferred to Port up front. As for Cardiff, it's also a massive game for their interim manager, Omar Reza. He's been in the job for about a month now, after Errol Bullock was sacked around a month ago. They've made 4 changes, actually, with the most notable change being Ollie Tanner, the former Bromley Academy player. He's their second top scorer this season, but he has to settle for a place on the bench, as he is preferred in place of David Turnbull. This is going to be a very interesting game, obviously being Frank Lampard's first game in charge, and the elusive manager bounce will be obviously around. But Cardiff will fancy themselves, having only lost 3 of the past 17 meetings against Coventry. So it's all to play for here at the Coventry Society Arena.
Absolutely is. That's Harrison Richards watching Coventry versus Cardiff. We're going to drop down the levels now and go to Sholing versus Winchester, where we've got Chance Cromick on the line. Chance, tell us the team news and a little bit about the game. we've got a little bit some technical issues there with Chance on the line. So we're going to jump to the Premier League. Freddie Dorman, your game, and tell us the team news.
Thanks, Jamie. So Brentford have made one change from the team that drew 0-0 last week to Everton, and it's Jan out in for Sharda, which means it's a change of formation to a 4-2-3-1. So it's Flecken in goal. Back four, Vandenberg, Collins, Pinnock and Lewis Potter. The two holding midfielders, Matthias Jensen and Christian Norgård, who was sent off against Everton last week, but they've had their appeal. It's been successful, so he has been rescinded. They've got Mbuemo, Damsgaard and Wissa, and then just in front of them is Kevin Sharda, who is the man that's replaced Jan out. As for Leicester, 4 changes. Connor Cody, Luke Thomas, Buonanotte and Ayew all come in for Christensen, El Kanous, Winks and McAtee. So they have Hermanson in goal, Okoli, Cody, Fass, Thomas and Justin as the back 5, and Ndidi and Samari in midfield just behind Ayew and Buonanotte. And obviously, as he always does, Jamie Vardy is captaining the side and leading the line.
Thank you very much. That's Freddie Dorman watching Brentford versus Leicester. That's in the Premier League. We're going to jump down to the FA Cup. Second round action kicked off last night and carries on into today. We've got Finn Harlow watching Crawley versus Lincoln. Finn, what's the team news?
Hello, Jamie. I hope you can hear my voice. It's really cold. I'm not nervous, but it is Baltic after the gantry here. I cannot feel any part of me, to be honest. Going into this game, Crawley beat Lincoln 3-0 only a month ago. But however, they have only won 3 of their last 12 home games in the FA Cup, but they've all been more than 3 goals. So that looks somewhat promising for them going into the game. And in terms of team news, they've made 5 changes from their last match. Will Swan is not in the squad after scoring the winner against Rotherham in their last game. And more importantly, Eddie Breach replaces Joseph Wallacott in goal, and he's only made 1 appearance for Crawley since joining from Chelsea on loan. But in a brighter side of news for them, that as their first choice keeper is out and only on the bench, the heroes of the last round, Tola Shuami and Tobias Malaki, who captains the side, both start. And in terms of Lincoln, the man to look out for them is Jovan McManama. He is up front for them and he's got 3 goals and 1 assist in all competitions so far this year. But overall, they've made 3 changes. But on the bench, Tyler Walker comes in for the first time since April last year, and Rico Hackett also makes the bench after recovering from his injury.
Thank you very much. That's Finn Harlow watching Crawley versus Lincoln in the FA Cup. Going to the Southern League once again, and this is Chance Cromick watching Sholing versus Winchester. Chance, can you tell us the team news potentially? In fact, again, we've got some small technical difficulties with Chance. Maybe the internet in Sholing. In fact, no, we're back up on the line. Chance, Sholing versus Winchester. 3rd time's the charm. Tell us about it.
Here we go. We're here at the Mortgage Decisions Community Stadium. It's a local derby, a potential 6-pointer, as Sholing currently 16th in the table, and the away side, Winchester City, are currently 19th. Only 4 points between them. I'll get into the team news now. Sholing, the home side, in goal got Patrick Nash, Benny Reed, Jake Flanagan, Harry Taylor, Charlie Gunson, Zayden Akers, Jack Hesketh, Xiong Yang, Michael Falevi, George Milner-Smith, Joseph Rabbits, and then on their bench there is Owen Rudin-Prince, Daniel Mason, Max Bustampe Miker, Jordan Chidoze, and Fabio Verissimo Lopez. And now onto the away sides team today. They have Luke Kearney in goal, Joshua McCormick, Daniel King, Oliver Griggs, Robert Jameson, Alex Wilkie, Daniel Jones, Jamie Barron, Thomas Wright, Trevor Caborn, and finally to finish the starting 11, Ick Hill. And their substitutes bench goes as follows: Jordan Rose, Luca Chilwell, Daniel Bartlett, Sim Milambo, and George Britton. So those are the sides today. Like I said, close game, local derby. Let's hope we get a good match.
Hopefully it is a feisty match, as the Southern League normally is. And we're going to stay in the Southern League, actually. Toby Chapman was on the line. He's now not on the line anymore. So we're going to move away from the Southern League. We're going to, I think, rise up. I think the Premier League's probably a higher league than the Southern League. And we're going to go to Freddie Kilby, who is watching Crystal Palace versus Brentford. What's the team news there from Selhurst Park, or technically the studio, Freddie?
Yes, thank you, Jamie. Both sides have made 2 changes to their starting lineup. So I'll start with the host. So Oliver Glasner has put in Eberici Eze and Jefferson Lerma in replace of Justin Devenny and Czech Decore. So I'll go through the team lineup for you for them. In goals, Dean Henderson. they've got a back three of Trevor Chalobah, Maxence Lacroix, and Mark Gahey. Then on the wing backs, they've got Tyreek Mitchell and Daniel Munoz. And then in midfield, they've got Will Hughes and Jefferson Lerma. A bit further forward, they've got Ismail Assar and Eze, of course. And up front, they've got Mateta, who's currently got 3 goals for the season. So hopefully he might be able to bag one more for them. For Newcastle, they have got Nick Pope in goal. They've got a back four of Tino Livramento, Fabian Schär, Dan Burn, who's come back in from suspension, and Lewis Hall at left back. They've got Sandro Tonali in midfield, who comes back into the lineup. They've got Bruno Guimaraes, who's avoided any some injury controversy, and Joe Willock in midfield. And you've got a front three, a very familiar one, of Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon, and Joe Linton. So some very tasty lineups today.
There absolutely is. There ain't no striker better than Jean-Philippe Mateta, as the song goes. And we're going to stay in the Premier League. We're going to go across the last Premier League game that we are covering today, in the last of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. Nathan Rawlings, tell us the team news.
Yep. Thanks, Jamie. Nottingham Forest then make 5 changes to the team that lost 3-0 to Arsenal. One of those being Anthony Elanga. Can only make the bench. He came off injured in that game. He is fit enough, but only for the bench, as I said. Chris Wood did not start against Arsenal. He does, however, start today. The man who won Premier League Player of the Month in October. So the lineup reads for a 4-2-3-1 formation. Matt Sells in goal. The back four is Nico Williams, Murillo, Nikola Milenkovic and Ola Aina. The 2 centre mids are Captain Ryan Yates and Elliot Anderson. On the left, you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi. Right wing, you've got Jota Silva. In the number 10 row, you've got Morgan Gibbs-White and, of course, Chris Wood starting as the sole striker. For Ipswich, then, the same formation as their opponents. They're the 4-3-2-1. They only make 1 change for their side. That's aside from their last game. In goal, you've got Murich. The back four reads Leif Davis, Cameron Burgess, Dara O'Shea and Axel Tuanzebe. 2 midfielders are the captain Sam Morsey and Jens Lynn Kajust. On the right wing, you've got Connor Chaplin. He comes in for the Welshman Wes Burns. Number 10, Amari Hutchinson, the former Arsenal Chelsea player. Left wing, you've got Sammy Smodjic. And up the front, the sole striker, also on form, Liam Delap.
Thank you very much, Nathan Rawlings. He's watching Ipswich versus Nottingham Forest from Nottingham, or from Studio 4. But we've got a couple of games coming in from the lower divisions now. We've got Rio Goodwin, who is watching a game in the Southern League, I believe, between Totton and Swindon Supermarine. Rio, can you drop us the team news and the latest on your match?
Hi, yes, so I'm Rio Goodwin. I'm down here at AFC Totton Stowe Stadium as they face against Swindon Supermarine in the Southern Premier League South Clash. Team news, we've got Ryan Gosney in goal, Joe Osler at right back, who is captain for the Stags, Charlie Kennedy and Adam Tomasu line up at centre back. A name that will be familiar to most fans of the Premier League, Charlie Austin lines up for the Tottenham today. Luke Hallett, Roddy Collins and Luke Benetetar. Top scorer Tommy Lee is at striker with Tom Blair and Tega Agbahiri on the wing. For the visitors, Swindon Supermarine, Daniel Brabham starts in goal. Sam Taylor at right back. Ryan Campbell, the captain, at centre back along with Jake Lee. At left back will be Anton Dworzak. Zach Kotwika will be at right mid. Gabriel Ravers and Harry Williams at centre mid. And Michael Elias Fernandez at left mid. 2 strikers will be Levan Ibrahim and Nicholas Pierre.
And that's Rio Goodwin watching Totton versus Swindon Supermarine from the Southern League. We're going to jump up a level, actually, and go to the National League North, where Toby Chapman is watching Oxford versus Farsley Celtic. Can you drop us the team news, please, Toby?
Hi, guys. Hopefully you can hear me. The audio around here's got intense because they're starting to come out with the team news as I'm wandering around the stadium. Hopefully the nosebleeds aren't too intense from the guys presenting on the upper league. Down here in the 6th tier, we've got quite a big game on our hands here. Oxford City versus Farsley Celtic, 21st versus 19th. There hasn't been a huge amount to celebrate for either of the sides. If Oxford City lose today, it will be their 4th loss in a row. I guess a few little bright sparks. The little bits that they have been able to celebrate have been goals coming in from Louis Walsh and Josh Parker. They're starting on the bench today, so maybe they'll be added in to come add a bit of adrenaline and a bit of intensity later on in the match to maybe salvage a few goals. But it's looking like a similar back line at the back. Josh Ashby, Jalen Jones, Lewis Boyle, Reece Fleet, captains for today. They're lining up at the back, and hopefully there might be a few goals from Jaden Carbon or Aaron Drew. Farsley Celtic have made the long trip down all the way from Leeds, so they'll be looking to try and end their worries near the bottom of the table as well.
That's Toby Chapman watching Oxford City versus Farsley Celtic in the National League North. There were some early kickoffs across the English leagues and the FA Cup today, so I'll run through those. Middlesbrough have beaten Hull City by 3-1. That one at Middlesbrough. Oxford United 1, Millwall 1, Watford 0, QPR 0, and at half-time in the 1:30 game that kicked off in the Championship between Blackburn and Leeds, Todd Cantwell's penalty, currently what separates the two sides. So Blackburn lead by a goal to 0. 2 games in League 2 today. League 1 and League 2 not regularly scheduled due to FA Cup action, but Carlisle drew 1-1 at home to Crewe, and Fleetwood Colchester finished 0-0. Those are all the top-level games that took place in league action. In terms of the local games, we have Gosport 0, Plymouth Parkway 0. That game kicked off 30 minutes ago or so, kicked off at 2 o'clock due to some floodlight issues that Gosport have been experiencing in the week. There's also a game that took place in the FA Cup today, one of the televised games between Wellston and Wickham. Wickham Wanderers winning by 2-0 in the battle of the W's down there. And also last night, in fact, the second round of the FA Cup got underway. Harrogate against Gainsborough Trinity, one of the big buster ties of the FA Cup weekend, at Harrogate won by 1-0. And to talk about the FA Cup, really, this obviously the first season ever in FA Cup history that there hasn't been replays past the qualifying rounds. So as we're in round 2 now, round 1 had no replays, and a few teams were kind of hurt by that. And I want to just get the panel's opinion. I know Freddie Dorman wants to speak first about it, but obviously with no FA Cup replays, Freddie, how hurting is this to teams, and really how impactful is it to the Premiership teams that voted for it?
I think the best way to describe it, isn't it, is it helps the big boys out, doesn't it? They don't want replays. They complain about there's too many games. But I don't think they fully understand how impactful the FA Cup is on these lower clubs. It brings in stupid amounts of money that they won't get anywhere else. And I just think, yes, people don't like the replays, like all penalty shootouts, extra time, whatever. But yeah, it's just helping the bigger teams out, and we could really see smaller clubs lose out on a lot of money, and we don't want a repeat of Bury and that sort of thing. We need the money for these small clubs, and yeah, it's a load of rubbish in my opinion, to be honest.
And Nathan Rawlings, as somebody that follows a local team, specifically yourself in Winchester, like, has that affected the feel around the place in the FA Cup this year? Did you notice much of a feeling? I know Winchester had a pretty good run for their sake, and they could have played Forest Green, that not in the first round, but do you reckon that had like a bit of an exchange?
I think definitely would have affected the both teams' mentalities. You know, we didn't play anyone too much higher than us in our somewhat of a cup run, but I think the idea that replays, I mean, it's a joke that they banned them, to be honest. They say money makes the world go round, but in terms of what makes football go round, it's the entire pyramid. And so the fact that these small clubs, or less rich clubs, if you like, aren't being helped in order to promote the game at all levels for all types of people, make the game accessible for all, for me it's disgusting. And I mean, it's becoming, football's becoming a business rather than a pastime or a hobby or a thing for everyone. So
and watching, sorry to butt in there, Nathan, but kind of, you got to have somebody that plays devil's advocate, Freddie, and I know you support one of the top teams around there. Do you think it has like really much of a tangible impact? Maybe playing 1 or 2 games a season, Liverpool maybe, or Tottenham having to play Shrewsbury away from home on a random Wednesday night, and only really having to play at most 1, maybe 2 extra games. Does it have as much of an impact as it does financially on a lower level to some of the other clubs?
No, because you find a lot of because you find a lot of Premier League clubs have quite a big squad depth anyway. Like, they've got a lot of players at their disposal. You can easily field like a quote unquote B team. So I feel like it's not really an excuse, especially like if you're changing formats to fit in games in other competitions, but don't benefit these lower league sides. I feel like I think that is a rubbish excuse if you do throw that out. Of course, player welfare is a very important subject, but yeah, these teams have a huge selection of players to choose from. Even if it's like like academy players, give them a game. Why not? And yeah, I feel like it is a lot better financially for lower league teams. I'd rather prioritise that than the schedule of a higher team. Because at the end of the day, as Nathan pointed out, the money made and the money for these lower league sides, they contribute a lot more to football than we give them credit for. And so I feel like it is a rubbish decision personally.
Yeah, it is a bit of a sorry state that certainly the FA Cup finds itself back in. But on the pitch, we do have a number of games today. Accrington playing host to Swindon. Actually, a league fixture that we covered on one of our last Soccer Saturday specials. The last Soccer Night specials. Freddie Dorman was at Swindon versus Accrington that day. Barnsley versus Bristol Rovers, a 3 o'clock kickoff. All of these games in the Cup are Cambridge versus Wigan, Crawley versus Lincoln, that we know Finn Harlow will be providing us live updates for. Exeter versus Chesterfield also. Leyton Orient versus Oldham. Morecambe versus Bradford. Peterborough versus Notts County. Salford versus Cheltenham. That's certainly a feisty game down there. A couple of sides that are struggling towards the bottom end of League 2. Stevenage versus Mansfield. Stockport versus Brackley. That's a non-league versus league tie. Walsall versus Charlton, and the late game today, AFC Wimbledon versus Dagenham and Redbridge. Not just football that's been on today, though, but also the F1 sprint race, which Oscar Piastri has won. That started about 2 o'clock, I do believe, so while we were partway through the very, very exciting quiz. And Charlie, you alerted me to the fact that Oscar Piastri had won. Can you tell us a little bit, maybe more about it, or a little bit more on terms of, obviously, the championship has already been decided this year, but what's left on the line for a couple of the teams, and how has the sprint race been affected by that?
Well, what's left is 2 more races now after the sprint race. The Oscar Piastri win, very big for McLaren. I think Lando Norris in P2 swaps around right at the end. Also, another thing, I find this kind of funny. Obviously, Perez hasn't had the best of years. He had a pit lane start. Colapinto was behind him in the pit lane start. Colapinto was in front of him by the time they got out the pit lane. So that's obviously very interesting. Russell got P3 to complete the sprint podium. But all eyes are going to be on qualifying at 6 o'clock tonight, and then the race at 4 o'clock tomorrow, with McLaren looking to just run further ahead with the constructors, and they could have it settled this weekend.
Certainly going to be interesting. It's just absolutely an interesting day for sport all over the shop. And it was also interesting last night, just the one Premier League game that took place. Some club called Southampton. I don't know whether that's local to any of us lot. It is Southampton Solent University, of course. They travelled on their way to Brighton, and there was a few questionable decisions that some Southampton fans have said. Freddie Dorman, I know you weren't at the game, but you watched the game. First of all, your opinion on the decision to disallow Cameron Archer's goal in the second half.
I think it's incredibly harsh. I can see both sides of it. Personally, I feel like, yes, Armstrong went towards the ball, so he has technically made an impact. But the Brighton defender, I can't quite remember who it was, had already missed the ball. It had already gone through. Then Armstrong went to flick the ball, so he had no impact on the goal. And then obviously Archer tapped it in, and the goalie was never going to save it. So I think it was harsh. And I can see why Russell Martin was frustrated by the end of it, especially given their league position. That could have really helped them out. But I still think a point away at Brighton, obviously, it's not the worst in the world, is it?
Yeah, it's not the worst in the world, because it's another point on the board that takes the total up to something like 5 now. But with a win, it would have been obviously a bigger push. Do you think there is still a chance, and this to Nathan Rawlings, do you think there's a chance that Saints could still stay up? Because they battled with one of the big boys. I know we don't like to think Brighton are a big boy, but they've got a lot of good players. Like Jorginho Rutter was one of the most hotly tipped signings from the Championship this season, and Saints battled with them well. So is there a chance that Saints can stay up?
I think if they're going to have to continue to play well, and unfortunately for Saints fans, we've not really seen that too much this season. I think luck will probably have to come into it for them as well. They've got the likes of Ipswich, the likes of Palace who are down there. Everton, Fulham, those teams are going to have to lose a big chunk of their games if Saints want to have any sort of chance of staying up. It's not looking likely at the moment. Is it possible? Absolutely. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
And basically, to anybody who wants to answer this question on the panel, Russell Martin, obviously you wouldn't want to sack him based on the performance yesterday, but there's been a few performances this season where people have really kind of wanted his head. Is that a thing, even if they go on to have a few more poor results? Would it be the beneficial thing to sack him? I don't know who wants to answer this question, Freddie Kilby. Would it be a beneficial thing to sack him anyway?
I don't think so. I think, you've got to establish... Obviously, he's established his own playing style there. There's a bit of controversy whether it actually works in the Premier League or not. We've seen it work in the Championship to an extent. They got promoted. But I feel like you've got to buy into the project as such. I hate using the word like project. It's quite a... But I feel like you have got to give him time. You've got to properly invest in your squad. I've not been blown away by their signs personally in like coming up to the Premier League. So I feel like if you give him the squad, like if you gave him Spurs squad, for example, I think you can establish... I think he's quite a good manager. He'll establish quite a good string of results and performances. So I feel like if they back him properly to a full extent, then I feel like he could produce the results for them and get him playing some really good football and obviously keep him up. So I don't think sacking him would have any benefits right now.
And this question, Charlie Bender, if Saints go down, or if or when, whenever you want to be comedic about it, do you think they stand a chance? Could they be one of the yo-yo teams, or do you think it's kind of the relegation that happened 2 seasons ago? Could it condemn them to kind of perennial Championship, maybe the occasional Norwich, basically? Are Southampton going to be the next Norwich?
Well, I think they went down last time. They had a very strong squad, and although they lost like Ward-Prowse, a few really big players, they kept some big players as well, and they've still got some of those big players. But I think if they go down again, they're going to lose even more of the big players, and some of the players that feel that they're perhaps they can handle it in the Premier League every week are not going to want to be playing in the Championship again, and they're going to want to get a move. And I think that could have a really bad effect on Southampton. Obviously, they went through the playoffs last year. That wasn't easy. Towards the end of the season, they started really struggling after they went on the big unbeaten run, were beaten by Bristol City, and then they really struggled from there. And I think that it's not going to be easy to come back up. So I can't see them being a yo-yo team. I think if they go down, they'll spend a couple of seasons there, but eventually come back up. But I think they've got the facilities and to rebuild in a way.
And you talk about the players that wouldn't really want to stay. Freddie Dorman, Tyler Dibling. I watched him at the Liverpool game. I know you're a Liverpool fan, so you would have watched that game as well. You watched him last night. He's a bit good at football, isn't he? Like, how important is he, and how far do you think Dibling can go, either with Southampton or without Southampton?
He's incredible, isn't he? And the best thing about it is I actually have a mate back at home who used to play football with him, and he's been telling me about him for years, and I was like, yeah, he's good, but we'll see when he plays in the Premier League. And he's taken it by storm, hasn't he? The way he carries the ball is sort of Eden Hazard-like, isn't it? I know that's his idol as well that he said. They can't take the ball off him. But the problem is, I think he's a bit too good for Southampton. And if they go down, or when they go down, depending, I think a lot of clubs will be going after him. I know he went to Chelsea and then came straight back. I think there was issues with family or something like that. But I feel like he's matured now. He's at the age where he's quite independent. He's proven himself on the biggest stage. I think he will move to a big club, and I think most of the top 6 would probably like to have him in their team, to be honest.
And talking about the top 6, this one to Nathan Rawlings, the top 6, the Premier League is probably going to go down to the wire, I think, this year. Obviously, Liverpool are kind of running away with it right now, but the Premier League is so unpredictable. What's your thoughts ahead of the top 4 race of the Premier League? How is the season going to pan out in your eyes?
Yeah, it definitely looks to be an exciting one. Manchester City not playing to the levels we expect of them has definitely helped spice things up in the league. Arsenal struggling with some injuries means they're probably a little bit lower down or a bit further away than they would like. Liverpool, under Arne Slot, just do look incredible, don't they? I think they'll definitely be there at the end of the season. You could argue that Arsenal have had a tougher run of fixtures, so maybe once the fixture list kind of eases up a bit, that they can come back and fight for the title. Martin Odegaard's big injury as well. He's back now, one of the key players. It's unlikely that Man City are going to be this bad for much longer. So I think it's a 3-horse race, certainly. And towards the end of the season, We could even see a shock from the likes of Brighton, who are up there, move up to second after the draw yesterday. Aston Villa have got a good side. How will they deal with Champions League football as well as the Premier League? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely looks to be an exciting fight.
Yeah, exciting fight, exciting day of football ahead. And I know all of you gave your team news moments ago, but I just want to dive in a bit deeper to some of your games. Freddie Kilby, who will be watching Crystal Palace versus Brentford today. Like some of the key headlines, I just want really a prediction from you. What do you think is going to happen in your game? What do you hope to happen? Because I know we want goals, but what do you think is going to happen?
So it's Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. Sorry, Jamie, but yeah, well, goals. I don't know if they will come in this game, to be honest, because Palace joint second bottom for the goals scored. Like they've only scored 10 goals this season, which is a real contrast to what we saw from Oliver Glasner's side last season. Towards the end of the season, they look like a team that are playing for fun, creating chances for fun. They should look a bit like a shadow of their former selves so far in this campaign. So, yeah, I don't know if goals being guaranteed. Newcastle, their goal difference this season is quite equal, actually. The goal difference is 0, so it is equal. 13 goals scored, 13 goals conceded. So Palace have got a very leaky defence, though. So perhaps that's something that Anthony Gordon, Joe Linton and Alexander Isak can exploit. But yeah, it'll be a very interesting one to watch. Two sides both had a very underwhelming season so far. Eddie Howe's side sat 10th. They would have been hoping to get in sort of Champions League, Europa League spots at the start of the season. But Palace, they're really falling below their expectations at the moment. Obviously, they finished 10th last season, so I thought they'd be aiming for a mid-table side, but they definitely don't want to be 19th in the table. And, well, they're only 1 point away from safety, but, every point counts at the moment in the Premier League. And, if they don't start picking up points soon, that will really punish them, and they could look like they could be going down to the Championship next season.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't be positive. And another side that could be going down to the Championship, they sit only outside of the relegation zone on goal difference so far, are Wolverhampton Wanderers. And we've got Millie Payne, who's watching Wolves versus Bournemouth today from the press box. Millie, what do you really think is the key moments in your game, and do you think that Wolves really could go down this year?
I think the key at the moment, Jamie, is that Wolves they've got the ingredients for it to work, and they've got a manager who is previously at Bournemouth, of course, with Gary O'Neill, and they've got the goal scorers up front. They've got all the pieces, and it seems now that it's starting to work for them. Like I said, with Matheus Cunha, who's on 5 goals this season, and I believe it's Ryan Aït-Nouri. He's on some of the most goals and assists defenders in the Premier League at the moment. So they've got all the key ingredients, but the Cherries will be looking to get back to winning ways this afternoon after some key disappointing results against Brighton and West Ham. So really the key is for Bournemouth, who've won the last 3 games that they've matched up here at Molineux, is they just need to try and find a way to do it without Antoine Semenyo. But with Wolves being on a bit of a good streak at the moment, I feel that they could be onto something and get that victory against the Cherries this afternoon.
Yeah, very insightful, Millie. And I know that you're South Coast based and were watching the Saints match last night with keen eyes. What was your thoughts on the decision to disallow Cameron Archer's strike? We've kind of come to a consensus in the studio, but what's your thoughts on it?
Oh, you can't ask me that, Jamie. From my perspective, what I've been seeing is that Adam Armstrong didn't really get anywhere near the ball. So how can we say he was technically involved in the part of playing in the goal? So I don't really think it could have been disallowed, but I can see the argument really through the way, but no bias here.
And just finally, to pester you on something Southampton related again, Russell Martin, if you were up in that boardroom, how long are you giving him? Are you giving him as long as he wants? Are you putting the contract down saying the numbers, or are you booting him out the door next week if it's not a favourable result?
Well, from what I hear, he has the backing of the board of Southampton. Sport Republic and Life Sanctuary have the belief that with that style of football that he can keep the team in the Premier League. But that is the issue, is that all the fans are wondering, is that this style of football, are the players really good enough? So I think Russell Martin, what he's trying to do is play a style of football with a team who might not really be up to it. But then again, I'm no expert, so I can't really say. But Southampton, a good point against Brighton last night, and one that probably wasn't expected. So the key really is if they can turn results around against the teams around them like they haven't been able to do so far this season.
That was Millie Payne. She's in the press box at Molineux today watching Wolves versus Bournemouth and ever so eloquently laying down the Southampton gauntlet, if you will. We've got a couple of other, of course, games in our studio. We're about 10 minutes before the 3 o'clock games kick off. The scores that are currently around in England so far has just gone over the 60-minute mark. In the game between Blackburn and Leeds, Todd Cantwell's penalty on 22 minutes was the difference in the first half, and there's a couple of yellow cards. Bogle for Leeds and Lewis Travis as well. He's been yellow card in that game, which means he misses his next match. Actually, we saw that a few times for Southampton last night. I think Harwood Bellis and Flynn Downs, and I believe maybe also Tyler Dibbling, miss the next match. It's also just gone half time between Gosport and Plymouth Parkway in the Southern Premier League. We've got Southern Premier League all wrapped up today pretty much. We've got the two reporters at games to watch: AFC Totton versus Swindon Supermarine. There is Rio Goodwin, and then Toby Chapman is watching Oxford versus Farsley Celtic. That's not in the Southern League, Jamie. That is in the National League North. Also in the Southern League is Chance Cromwick, who's watching Sholing versus Winchester. But the Southern League, certainly an interesting division this year. Merthyr top of it, Winchester in the bottom four, and they could be dropping out. It's the local team really in the Southern League for Southampton, other than obviously Tottenham and Sholing, but they've been in there for a fair few years. Tottenham on the rise up, but Winch could be in danger. And Nathan Rawlings, I know you watch them a fair bit. What's the difference this season? Because I know they were down there a little bit last year and not really the season before, but why are they in this battle and why do they currently find themselves in the relegation zone?
It feels as though, so this season Winchester have been lucky enough to have been granted a brand new 4G pitch, brand new facilities, but that did mean that at the start of the league campaign, Winchester had to play their home games at Basingstoke Stadium. So the start of the league, was a bit disjointed, I think, for the squad. Pre-season was a bit up and down. Lots of players couldn't make games, so it wasn't easy for them, especially being at semi-pro. It's quite hard to get consistent game time in pre-season. Quite consistently difficult to get your squad down. Additionally, Winchester have been struck unlucky with a lot of injuries. We've had a fair few players playing out of position, wingers playing at fullback, etc. We had to use the loan system quite a lot as well from teams and around us and above in the divisions, but they're beginning to run out because they're only 1 month loans. So Winchester are a good side. They are very good for this division, but with a poor start, how long can it go on for? I'm not sure.
And we pretty much absolutely hate any team that are certainly local to Southampton to go down, because we want to see good quality football, and we want, as Solent Sports News, we want to be able to bring you the cutting edge. If Winchester Sholing, get them in the Southern League, get them in the National League, get them in the National League South, places like that. We want the local football, especially in the Hampshire region, to go up. Well, we are about 6 or 7 minutes away. I can see the reporters that we have away on the ground. They are saying their teams are kind of lining up in the tunnel. I think Millie Payne at Wolves has had the flames go up in front of her for a big 3 o'clock kickoff. But looking down at the Southern League, it's 19th versus 16th today. Winchester versus Sholing is half-time confirmation of that between Gosport and Plymouth Parkway. Back up to the Championship, where we have games still: Blackburn 1, Leeds 0, Bristol City Plymouth, which will be covered by Charlie Bender in the studio today. That's at 3 o'clock. Also Coventry Cardiff, which Harrison Richards is out at. The other Championship games include Norwich versus Luton, two sides on very weird runs of form, both Norwich and Luton. Norwich actually picking up their first win in 7 or 8 games when they beat Plymouth by 6-1 on Tuesday night. And Luton, they lost out to Leeds last time, 3-0 at home in midweek, but then they beat Hull by 1-0 this time last week. So certainly two sort of mid-table-ish sides, and sides that would, at the start of the season, probably think, well, we're going to get up and get into the playoffs. And, I mean, neither of them are at the minute. Norwich sitting in 10th, Luton sitting all the way down in 17th, where Portsmouth currently sits with every other Championship team on top of them. Rest of the games in that league: Preston versus West Brom. Then already got to mention in the Solent Sports News quiz, which of course Freddie Dorman came out victorious. Nathan Rawlings with a wonderful recovery run in the final minutes to set up the decider. The rest of the games in the Championship: Stoke versus Burnley. The fact that Stoke versus Burnley isn't a Tuesday night rainy game is absolutely diminishes everything I know about football. And then Swansea versus Portsmouth is the 4 o'clock game. No games in League One or League Two today, but there are games in the National League, National League North, National League South, as well as the Northern, Southern and Isthmian divisions and the Southern Central Division. Games in the National League South include Bath versus Boreham Wood being one of them. Certainly a big game. Bath City managerless, permanent managerless, whereas Boreham Wood they've had their manager troubles in the recent seasons as well. Luke Gerrard, he's back at the helm, whereas Bath City are currently taken over by their senior players. Other top games in the National League South: Truro versus Dorking. We're going to jump up from the National League South because really nobody cares about that. We're going to go up to the Championship: Coventry versus Cardiff City. We've got 5 minutes to go until kick-off. Harrison Richards, you've been watching the players warm up. What's the latest?
Yes, Ben, like you said, 5 minutes until kick-off. We've just had Feeling Good by Nina Simone. End of the game, that they'll be feeling good too. I'm sure you can hear around me. It's a pretty good atmosphere. It's an exciting game. Obviously, Coventry with Frank Lampard's first game in charge since April 2023. He's not been anything special as a manager, but they will do him good. And we're just a couple of minutes away from kick-off between Coventry and Cardiff.
Harrison Richards will be watching Frank Lampard's first ever Coventry City game. And it certainly sounds like an atmosphere. The atmosphere taking up a lot of your signal as well there, Harrison. But we can hear you pretty much fine and dandy. Very exciting game there. And there's going to be some exciting games that we're watching in the studio. Another one in the Championship: Charlie Bender watching Bristol City versus Plymouth. Both sides again on contrasting form. Plymouth got beaten very convincingly away at Norwich. One of the longest away days I think they can really do, especially on a Tuesday night. And that was pretty convincing. What are your thoughts ahead of the visit for the two sides?
Well, it definitely wasn't ideal for Plymouth last time out. It wasn't too ideal for Bristol City as well. They lost 1-0 on the road to Watford on Tuesday. But the teams are just walking out here. The stadium is pretty full. Everyone's very excited for this game. The atmosphere is electric. And Wayne Rooney will be in the away dugout. Of course, scored 253 Manchester United goals. He scored 6 times in the Championship. Played against Bristol City twice when he was at Derby. Didn't win any of those. They lost both of them. Liam Manning in the home dugout. He has 53 Bristol City matches to his name as a manager. Won 17, drawn 17, and lost 19. So he'll be looking to make it 118 today.
Wayne Rooney, interestingly, obviously manager of Plymouth. Frank Lampard, now manager of Coventry. They meet each other for the first time, I believe, as managers on Boxing Day. So certainly an interesting Boxing Day if you describe both of them as Barclays, I guess, and both England icons sat in the dugouts on Boxing Day. Christmas coming up, the last day of November. We've got about 2 minutes left to go, lads. I'm just going to ask you a very, very interesting question. What are your advent calendars? Freddie Kilby, start with you.
So I usually don't partake in an advent calendar, but my girlfriend's mum bought me one. So it's a Terry's chocolate orange one, which I'm very happy with, actually. So a very rogue, but I do love chocolate orange. So yeah, that's my one.
Chocolate orange is a great shout. Charlie Bender?
Well, it's not my advent calendar. I've put one together though. Lots of little trinkets, mystery bags, and Pokemon cards and stuff. And it's gonna be opened every day by my girlfriend. And hopefully she'll really like it. She doesn't know about it, and I know she's not listening. So yeah, that's what I've got.
The romantic is of it. Charlie Bender, Nathan Rawlings, advent calendar or no? Or if so, what is it?
This year, unfortunately, no. However, in previous years, I tend to opt for a standard dairy milk one. Can't go wrong, It's Old Faithful, and in my opinion, it's the best chocolate out there. Just saying.
Freddie Dorman, advent calendar.
Mine actually arrived in the post today from my mother, and she got me a Lindt chocolate one, which it's a bit bougie, I know, and I think it's my favourite one as well. So yeah, I'm not going to complain, am I?
Just think we all get to wake up tomorrow morning and get an advent calendar, chaps. Like Christmas is coming, and we've got 30 seconds left till kick-off. I'll do another round of Christmas-based questions. What's the best Christmas song, chaps?
Fairy Tale of New York is probably the best one. It's the standard, but it's got to be the best one in my opinion.
I think Freddie Dorman's right there. Freddie Kilby's looking at me like eagerly eyed. I think he wants to answer this question. Who cares about football? It's Christmas
Fairy Tale
songs.
New York is a great answer, but for me, one that's been very controversial recently. Do they know it's Christmas?
Ooh.
Classic.
Do they know?
Last Christmas by Wham.
Yeah.
I think George Michael. Yeah. What more can I say? He's fabulous.
Are we playing Whamageddon this year, guys? Whamageddon or the Pogues game, where your objective is to not listen to it? We probably shouldn't be bringing this up on the radio, but we can organise it now anyway. Are we getting
No, come on. In the spirit of Christmas, they have to be played.
Yeah, but you can't listen to it accidentally. That's the beauty of it. You can listen to it on purpose.
The only game I'm interested in right now is Bristol City Plymouth.
Have any of your games kicked off yet, chaps? So we've probably just ticked over. In fact, our clock in the studio is a little bit delayed. We've got 15 seconds left until the magical 3 o'clock on our Saturday, which I think is one of the best feelings ever, 3 o'clock on a Saturday. All these games kicking off at the same time. The games that have been kicked off beforehand, currently still Blackburn 1, Leeds 0. A couple of the games around the grounds kicking off. It's still half-time at Gosport Plymouth Parkway, but a few of the games have kicked off a few seconds early, so the referee's not getting their stopwatches quite correct. And I think we've got a few kickoffs in the local game, so we're going to count up, and we're soon going to have goals flying in all over the shop. I know we had the dramatic music come in about an hour and a half ago, but I almost want to play it again. Producer Will, can we play the dramatic music again to get us into the mood? 3 o'clock kickoffs all around the country, and your only place to listen to it, Solid Sports News Soccer Saturday. Well, there's the dramatic music. Here's the dramatic moments coming in. No goals in any of the games as of yet, really. But there's a dancing Freddie Kilby in the studio. I think he's just vibing to the music because he's the only other one in the studio with the headphones on. But we've got Freddie Dorman watching Brentford versus Leicester. And there isn't any goals in under a minute, is there, Freddie?
No. I'm bored already. We're nearly a minute in and there is not a goal. Brentford, obviously, I think it's 23 seconds was their fastest goal so far this season. They're yet to do so. They didn't have the kickoff. But yeah, so far nothing's happened, but we are underway.
We are underway in basically every single game across the country. The Southern League getting a little bit slow kicking off. There's no goals in those. The FA Cup games haven't provided any other goals yet. So I'll run you through the games that had kicked off earlier on. Earlier on in the afternoon, Middlesbrough beat Hull City by 3-1 at the Riverside. Oxford United held 1-1 by Millwall. Watford 0, QPR 0 with 15 minutes left to play in Blackburn versus Leeds. It was a 1:30 kickoff, kicked off at the same time as our show. That is 1-0 to Blackburn. And dropping down still half-time in the local games, so we are getting out and about. It's football, ladies and gentlemen. I think all of our studio games have kicked off. There's a few more around the grounds that are going. Does anybody have an interesting moment or anything at all that we can talk about as of yet? Charlie Bender's watching his screen with some sort of boredom. I know you've got the only championship game today, Charlie, but does it not live up to the expectations?
Well, Plymouth had kickoff and they played a long ball, came to Bristol City, and it went out for a throw-in straight away. So that sums up, I think, what we're going to see in this game. Hopefully not, though. I'm still optimistic about this game. We're only 2 minutes in. Bristol City have got a throw-in in the attacking third, but Cam Pring is about to take the throw-in. He is back after an injury. He's been back a couple of games now. He's a crucial player, one of Bristol City's only left-backs, so it's key he stays fit.
The Championship, all of the other games underway over there, still goalless in all of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Looking down the ground, there's actually been a first goal in the National League South this afternoon. Enfield lead away to Torquay by a goal 2-0. 2 minutes the score on the door over there. How does that affect the National League South standings as Torquay before this game sit 5th in the table against Enfield, who now jump up actually from bottom all the way up to 22nd, still in the relegation zone, but goals are plenty. There was a game last night in the National League South as well. Welling travelled away to Aveley, and I saw actually Dave Winfield, Welling centre-half, got a boot in the face for his troubles, but was helpless to stop his side from drawing 1-1. That's the only real goal in the country from the 3 o'clock kickoffs so far. Scrolling down the little vidi printer that we've got here, is there any action in any of the TV games? And we've got an update from Wolves versus Bournemouth. Millie Payne.
Well, it's been an interesting first 5 minutes here at Molineux. It's Wolves 0, AFC Bournemouth 1, a penalty for AFC Bournemouth where Evan Nilsson gets brought down in the box by Totti Gomez, and VAR doesn't take too long to make the decision. It was quite a clear and obvious foul. And then Justin Kluivert lines up on the penalty spot, ready to take it to Bournemouth, and as cool as you like, just slides it into that top right-hand corner. Here at Molineux, it's Wolves 0, AFC Bournemouth 1.
Well, the first goal of the afternoon from one of our live coverage games. And I'll tell you what, there's been another one. I think Harrison Richards is watching Coventry versus Cardiff. What's the score, Harrison? What's happened?
Well, it's the visitors who take the lead. It's Coventry 0, Cardiff City 1. And it's a simple header from a corner from Meter. Meets it unmarked. Easiest goal you'll ever score. A pretty poor start for Frank Lampard's men. But yeah, it is Coventry 0, Cardiff City 1.
What a start for Frank Lampard. I mean, if you were any part of the Lampard family, you'd be looking on, checking your phone, and first day into a new job, he's probably picked the wrong seat, and now he's gone, and Matete scored to make it 1-0 to Cardiff in a battle of technically the new or interim managers. Games being watched, of course, in the studio. Does anyone have an interesting moment to bring up? We've already heard from Charlie Bender, the Championship reporter. Freddie Kilby watching Crystal Palace versus Brentford. What's happened so far in the opening 5 or 6 minutes, Freddie?
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. It's 0-0, obviously. Palace have started to settle down in the game. You know, they've started playing the short and frequent passes they're known for playing. But yeah, Newcastle had a bright start. You know, the front three combining to create an early chance. But you know, Palace defence dealt with it really well and cleared the danger. But yeah, it's still a bit even so far. Both teams having spells of possession. But no teams have really created any major chances so far. But we're only 5 minutes into the game. It's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0.
I do believe I incorrectly said that you're watching the wrong game. For some reason on my sheet I've got you watching Crystal Palace versus Brentford. So it is Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. The Eagles versus the Magpies in the flight derby. No goals in the FA Cup games currently from around the grounds. There's a couple of goals bouncing in around the Southern League and the Central Leagues, but not really anything to note in too many of the other games. Still Blackburn 1, Leeds 0. I'm not sure how that really affects the Championship table too much. Leeds obviously a big side, and they are dropping no positions actually. They sit just now 3 points off of top spot. Burnley have the chance to jump into the automatic spaces if they win in their game today, but as is calm 8 minutes played into the game, they are goalless. And in fact, we're going to hear from Millie Payne once again watching Wolves versus Bournemouth. Millie, there's not been another goal, has there?
Well, I'm great to tell you, Jamie, there has been another goal here at Molineux. It's Wolves 1, AFC Bournemouth 1. So a quick start here from both sides. So straight after that penalty that was slotted in by Justin Kluivert, on the other end of the pitch, Pepper just couldn't keep out a goal from Morgan Strand Larsen. Another goal for him so far this season. He shoots from close range and it goes straight in the back of the net, and the Wolves stadium has erupted. So I can't lie, I might be coming back to me for some action quite a bit. 7 minutes in here, it's Wolves 1, Bournemouth 1.
So fair old way to trek Wolves from Southampton, and Millie's got her just rewards 5 minutes into that game, and it's 1-1 Wolves versus Bournemouth. Nathan Rawlings jumping about in the studio. What's happened in your game?
Yeah, it's been a very, very tight start, but Nottingham Forest just coming closer there. A close range shot from Ryan Yates, the captain, deflected out for a corner. Elliot Anderson puts his arm up and just a take. And it's cleared very comfortably. But yeah, very close chance there. Bodies on the line for Ipswich, but stopping what almost was a certain goal. 8 minutes in, still 0-0 at the City Ground.
And we've already heard from Harrison Richards once today. We've heard from Millie Payne twice. We're going to hear from Harrison Richards again. Harrison, we've not had a second goal, have we?
We certainly have, mate. Over the top from Sakamoto was met by Mason Clark, and he did the rest. As the exact response Frank Lampard would have wanted from his men. And Coventry have been a better team to start the game. Just ball marking from the corner. Cardiff City won.
Wow, some interesting games, some interesting scores. Frank Lampard has gone from agony to kind of mid-levels of ecstasy, I guess. 1-1 between Coventry and Cardiff that Harrison Richards is watching. Many other goals from around the grounds that aren't going in. It's Oxford 1, Farsley Celtic 0. I think I will shortly be hearing, hopefully, from Toby Chapman if he jumps in on the line. Freddie Kilby's jumping about like a Rottweiler in the studio. Freddie, anything happening in your game between Crystal Palace and Newcastle?
No, not really so far, but there was a bit of a...
We're going to, in fact, jump to Rio, who's watching Totton versus Swindon Supermarine. What's your update there?
Yes, so there has been a goal. Charlie Austin, the man, to get it, going from a corner. It was put in by Tom Blair. A headed effort. It went to the keeper, but he could only carry it straight into the path of Charlie Austin on the 6-yard box, who spots it in, giving the host a 1-0 lead.
AFC Totton leading against Swindon Supermarine, Charlie Austin. And we've also got Toby Chapman joining in. He's watching Oxford versus Farsley Celtic. I've kind of stolen your thunder, Charlie, but sorry, Toby. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's been looking quite good down here, to be fair, guys. We've come down the end where Farsley Celtic are defending, and all the action's been down here. Oxford City have been trying from corners and free kicks, but it was a great bit of open play that led the ball to top goal scorer at the moment, Corey Andrews. He was the man who was able to shimmy away from some defenders and then hit it low into the bottom left-hand corner. So it means that the home side have taken the early lead. That's Oxford City 1, Farsley Celtic 0.
Goals flying in left, right and centre. Millie Payne's got a third. Tell us about it.
Oh my goodness, Jamie, I can't quite believe it. Bournemouth back in front. It's Wolves 1, Bournemouth 2. Milos Kerkez with his first ever goal from Bournemouth, taken just inside of the box, shoots it and smashes it straight into the top of the net. And my goodness, the Bournemouth fans shouting out around the stadium to the Wolves fans, who are you? Who are you? But it's been an extremely fast start from both sides. We'll try and take a chance and pick the defenders. So we're about just over 11 minutes in here, and it's Wolves 1, AFC Bournemouth 2.
Wow. Hopefully you've had some sort of caffeine or something to keep up with it, because I wouldn't survive if I was at the end of the game as you. If I was you, that's Millie Payne watching Wolves versus Bournemouth. A few more goals flying in from around the grounds. Boreham Wood lead Bath City by a goal to 0. That's in the National League South. In the National League North, just the one goal that Rio Goodwin described to us. Sorry, Toby Chapman described to us a few moments ago. In the National League, Braintree 1, Gateshead 1, so a fast start, but not quite as fast as Wolves versus Bournemouth. We've already heard from Harrison Richards that it's Coventry 1, Cardiff 1, and the Championship game with just 5 minutes left to play, kicking off at 1:30, was Blackburn 1, Leeds 0, 5 left to go. Chaps in the studio. Anything really to report? Charlie Bender watching the Championship game.
I did notice on the side of the pitch, one of the stewards, I think he was wearing bright white mercurials, so he looks ready to come on if any of these teams need him. At the moment, Bristol City seem to be the team on top. Plymouth do have the ball, they're on the edge of the Bristol City area, but it has been cleared away by Mehmeti. There was a bit of a head collision, but nothing to worry about. Both players got up very quickly, and also a bit earlier, about 5 minutes ago, there was a very bad back pass from one of the Plymouth defenders, and Naki Wells almost intercepted it, but the keeper was quick to it and it went out for a throw-in. But yeah, still 0-0 here.
Not the most exciting game in the Championship, as Harrison Richards had already told us. 1-1 in his game, and there's certainly some goals coming in the FA Cup. Charlie Bender's made a suspect noise. Has there been a chance, Charlie, as I've just come to you?
Well, there's a very good chance. A deflective cross from the left-hand side of the area. Cameron Pring, it comes across, and Naki Wells headed it, but it just goes over, so still 0-0.
A game that is not 0-0 is what Finn Harlow's watching, Crawley versus Lincoln. What's happening, Finn?
Well, I was about to come to you at 1-0 to Crawley. I can confirm I'm coming to you at 2-0 Crawley. Tola Shawori has just scored on a quick counter-attack, pretty much straight from the kick-off. Before that, Adi Amio put the ball into Jack Rolls, who put it into the bottom left corner for 1-0, but it's very quickly become 2-0 here.
Well, our live reporters, not only out in the field, but they're having an absolute field day today. 7 goals between just 3 reporters. So in fact, no, 8 goals between 4 reporters. No, I can't even count. It's 9 goals between 5 reporters. Pretty much everybody has seen a goal. Just Chance Cromick so far that hasn't. That's Sholing versus Winch. But there's goals, so many goals flying in. Goals. Any in the studio? No, of course not. Is there anything interesting happening in your game, Freddie, between Brentford and Leicester?
Still 0-0 here, but it is all Brentford. As I said, that was a long shot from Damsgaard, but it was blocked. But all Brentford here, they're going constantly down the right, and Burmo must have touched the ball probably 20 times already, attacking Luke Thomas, who he hasn't played a single minute before this game so far, so I can see why they are going down that side. But it's all Brentford. No, yet to test a goalkeeper, though, other than that Damsgaard shot, but it was blocked nicely, yeah. So still Brentford 0, Leicester 0.
Goal going in the National League South as well. Worthing lead Weston-super-Mare by a goal to 0. Could shape up the top of the National League South as Torquay, who started the day 4th, already losing, and Weston, who started the day 2nd and could have jumped Truro to go to the top. They are losing to Worthing. There's just 3 goals in the National League South. Goal in the National League North as South Shields lead Peterborough Sports by 1 goal to 0. And we're going to jump down to Rio, who's watching Totton versus Swindon Supermarine in the Southern League. Tell us what's happening, Rio.
So there's nothing short for the fans to celebrate here today, as the score is now 2-0 to the host. The scorer coming from top scorer Tony Lee, who now takes his scoring into double digits. A nice 1-2 between him and Charlie Austin leads him to nicely put the ball into the bottom right-hand corner. Now, hosts now winning 2-0.
That's Totton 0, Totton 2, Swindon Supermarine 0. And while we were hearing from Rio, Freddie Kilby, you've got an injury to tell us about in your game.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. It's still currently Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0, but it's going to be a huge blow for Newcastle fans. It looks like Alexander Isak is in a lot of pain. There was a heavy collision with Crystal Palace defender Tyreek Mitchell. And it sort of impacted his hip. He was seen at first holding it down on the ground, but he started to continue to play on. And now, a few minutes later, he has gone down again, holding that hip. So the physios have come on, giving him some treatment. He did walk off, though, so he looks like he might be able to shrug it off, but we'll see. But Callum Wilson is warming up on the bench, so we'll have to keep an eye on that one.
He's a tough cookie, so I'm sure we'll be able to carry on. Cheers, Freddie. Still 0-0 in all of the games in our studio. Just 2 minutes left between Blackburn and Leeds. The one that Leeds really could have taken advantage of and keeps their position. And we're going to hear from Millie Payne yet again at Molineux.
Well, Jamie, Bournemouth have another penalty. It's Evan Nielsen again in the box who takes the foul. But this time from goalkeeper Jose Sarr. And it's Justin Clive who's lining up on the penalty this spot. It's time to take it. Once again, he's hoping to score a second on his 50th appearance for Bournemouth tonight. He lines up behind the ball. Jose Sarr jumping on his penalty in the goal, to try and hit him off a little bit. Private shoot, and it goes in. Bottom left-hand corner. Private gets the second goal of the game, and we're only 17 minutes in here at Monaco. All 1, AFC Bournemouth 3.
Dreamland for AFC Bournemouth. Dreamland for yourself, Millie. You've seen a lot of goals. It would have been awful to travel all the way up to Molineux and make it 0-0. But Bournemouth jumping up to 11th place. Wolves being condemned to 19th. Now Palace 0-0 with Newcastle as we heard excellently from Freddie Kilby, and Nathan Rawlings is watching Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. That game's still 0-0, which means Ipswich rise up outside of the relegation zone. The Tractor Boys starting their engines. Are they starting their engines and getting forward in your game, Ginge?
Well, to be honest, not particularly. It looks like it's been all Forest through 17 minutes, still 0-0 here at the City Ground. A couple of chances for both sides, nothing too clear cut. There has already been, I think, 6 corners in this game, so clearly this game could be won from set pieces. As it stands, the fans seem to be low energy. I seem to be low energy. But here at the City Ground, Nottingham Forest 0, Ipswich 0.
Coming on down towards the South Coast region, Wimborne lead Dorchester by a goal to 0, and Taunton losing by a goal to 0 at home to Chertsey Town. And Chertsey got promoted last season, and they are relatively high flying, moving up to 9th in the Southern League now. Frome, Marlow, Plymouth Parkway, and of course local Winchester currently occupy the bottom 4 there, and the 2 goals that we heard AFC Tottenham scored against Swindon Supermarine pushing them upward in the table, overtaking Gloucester, who don't play today, moving up into 2nd place. Our AFC Tottenham, of course, managed by Jimmy Bull, but there's been a goal. St Ives are leading Hitchin in the Southern Premier Central Division. We really get all the levels. Radcliffe lead Darlington by a 0-0, and we were due to have a reporter sent to Woking versus Yeovil today, and you've had a treat so far as Woking have been reduced to 10 men on the 18-minute mark. 19 played, 0-0 Woking. Yeovil's 4th goal has gone in between Braintree and Gateshead in the National League. 2 apiece now, and Braintree sacked the manager Angelo Harrop in the week, and I'm sure whoever would be, and as producer Will has, we tried to disguise it. He's gone up with the tray of biscuits to go around to give to one of our reporters, and he's trod on one of the buttons, so it provides us some sort of comedic relief. I kind of almost want to do a post-match interview with producer Will there, but I'll let him be doing his busy producing work. Another goal in the Championship. Norwich City 0, Luton 1. So looking against the form book, that one goes in. We're into added time of Blackburn versus Leeds, the early kick-off. I mentioned earlier Preston versus West Brom. West Brom lead by a 0-0. So just the 4 goals in the Premier League, and all of them coming in that one game that Millie Payne is watching. Wolves 1, Bournemouth 3, 20 minutes played. We're coming up towards half-time of the first half in the studio games, chaps. Nathan Rawlings watching Forest versus Ipswich. He's got a biscuit in his mouth. So Charlie Bender watching Bristol City versus Plymouth. What's happening down in the Championship?
Well, there has been a big applause from the Bristol City fans, and nothing to do with what's happening on the pitch. Sam Bell has just started to warm up on the touchline. He has been out since the first game of the season, where he picked up a pretty serious injury. He played a game for the under-21s earlier in the week, but now he is warming up and he's on the bench, and he looks fit. He looks ready to go. So hopefully we can see him again for the second time this season.
In the FA Cup, Salford lead Cheltenham by a 0-0. Stockport 2, Brackley Town 0. So it looks like the EFL clubs are going to go through in this one. Walsall 0, Charlton 1. Also in the FA Cup, Accrington 1, Swindon 0. Who are Accrington? You'd only know if you bought milk in the late 90s. Some time like that. Freddie Kilby's got his hands up. He is watching Crystal Palace versus Newcastle, but we're going to ignore him. We're going to go to Freddie Dorman. Brentford versus Leicester. There's been a goal, Freddie.
All Brentford for the first 20 minutes. Leicester come up the pitch, Jamie Vardy, and it's a goal. He nudged the defender off the ball, and he went to go down for a penalty, but whilst he was on the floor, he just flicked the ball through to Buonanotte, who is back from injury. He just taps it into an open net. They've just panned to Van Nistelrooy. He's a happy bunny after taking charge. Well, it'll be the 3rd of December he takes charge. But against the run of play, it's Brentford 0, Leicester 1.
A first goal in the Premier League that isn't at Wolves versus Bournemouth, but we've got Finn Harlow on the line watching Crawley versus Lincoln in the FA Cup. Finn, you can't tell me there's been a 3rd goal.
I can tell you that I can. And Lincoln have actually got one back. So it's now 2-1. There's a great header from Cordy O'Connor, looping it over the goalkeeper from just outside the 6-yard box. Crawley were just unable to clear the ball. It kept on coming back in, and thankfully Eric Ring put the ball back across for him to head home.
Crawley 2, Lincoln 1, as Lincoln reduced the deficit down in Crawley, which is from a town with a load of roundabouts. Maidstone 1, St Albans 0. Papadopoulos putting the Kent side in front there. Freddie Kilby in the studio watching Palace versus Newcastle. We had to cut you off when there was a goal in the other game, but Freddie, what is happening?
Yes, thank you, Jamie. It's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0, but it's Eddie Howe's been served an absolute headache so far. Joe Linton then went down. You know, he landed very heavily and dodgily on his shoulder. So he's down holding that. So the physio has earned his money today so far, as he was tending to him. So he then got back up, which then Isak went back down holding his hip again, which prompts some boos from the crowd. But it's Isak has been forced off by Eddie Howe, and who's been replaced by Harvey Barnes. So a very early change and a huge blow to Newcastle United. So it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to this.
Not a good listen if you've got Isak in your FPL team. Luckily, I haven't. But not very good there. Salford lead Cheltenham by 2-0. That one of the FA Cup ties today. Still Stockport 2, Brackley 0. And in fact, Peterborough they've absolutely bottled it. Peterborough 1, Notts County 2. We're going to go and hear from Harrison Richards watching Coventry versus Cardiff.
It remains Coventry 1, sorry. Oh, offside. Well, a good chance there for Cardiff City. Keeper parried a long shot. Robinson, I believe the attacker, was offside, but it remains 1-1 here. Not too much action since the first goal. Been a few good openings down the left, down the right, but nothing clear cut. Coventry, you can tell with Frank Lampard, in his first game, they're trying to play out from the back in the way he likes to play. But to Cardiff's credit, their pressure's been pretty good, forcing Coventry to go long most of the time. But here at the Coventry Building Society Arena, it remains Coventry 1, Cardiff City 1.
Harrison Richards watching that one. Also in the Championship, Norwich have just equalised at Luton, so that game also 1-1. Nathan Rawlings jumping about in the studio. Maybe something about off the line, Forest versus Ipswich.
Yeah. A corner for Ipswich, one of the many corners we've already had this game, just 23 minutes in. It's the centre-back Cameron Burgess that goes up for the header in a crowded penalty area, and it's right-back Ola Aina who is forced to clear it off the line. Matt Sales in the Forest goal, absolutely helpless if it wasn't for his defender. As I said, one of the many corners they've had in this game. They're the only real sources of chances here at the City Ground. But 24 minutes in, Nottingham Forest 0, Ipswich 0, but could have been 1.
Freddie Kilby's got his hands on his head away to the left-hand side. Freddie, what's happening? Goal. In fact, for the second time, Freddie Dorman's jumped in front of Freddie Kilby with a goal. Freddie Dorman.
Sorry, Freddie, but it's a goal for Brentford. They've got one back. Johan Wissa, a great ball over the top down the left, and it was the pacey Kevin Schade who got on the end of it in his first start. And he just puts the ball across to Johan Wissa, and he just tapped it into an open net. Nice and simple. Leicester, poor defending again, like we've heard so many times this season. But it's game on here, and it's Brentford 1, Leicester 1.
Freddie Kilby, we're going to go back to you. There might be another goal for Freddie Dorman if this happens. I don't know if it's the jinx. Freddie Kilby watching Crystal Palace versus Newcastle.
Yeah, it's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0, but Newcastle had a brilliant chance as Harvey Barnes made a very swift impact, sprinted down the right-hand side, skipped past his markers and put a great low cross into the box. But unfortunately for Newcastle, it's just behind Anthony Gordon, who is arriving for that opportunity to tap it in. So that was the best opportunity of the game so far. It's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0.
Jumping down from the Premier League all the way down to the Southern League. Chance Cromwick watching Sholing versus Winchester. What's the latest in Sholing, Chance? Still some sort of technical difficulties for Sholing. In fact, no, now we can go back to Chance Cromwick, Sholing versus Winchester.
There we go. So, yeah, it's still Sholing 0, Winchester City 0 here at the Mortgage Decisions Community Stadium. Sholing have controlled the possession for the most part, but like I said, no deadlock as of yet. Both teams have had their odd chance, but yeah, Sholing 0, Winchester City 0.
Derby Day down. I say down, it's just a few miles to our east. Sholing from our studio today, and a local derby game. We're into the 9th added minute of Blackburn versus Leeds. Still 1-0, a couple of yellow cards apiece and a few late substitutes. Todd Cantwell, who scored the penalty on 22 minutes, has made way in the latest change. A goal that a few Southampton fans won't be happy to hear about. Swansea 0, Portsmouth 1 in the Championship. I think that still leaves Portsmouth in the relegation zone, yes. Brings them up a position on goals scored. So they're up to 23rd with just Hull ahead of them and QPR at the foot of the table. But both sides, or all of the sides in the Championship, bottom three, stuck on 15 points. So on minus 11 goal difference. Hull, the lucky ones, on minus 9. But they have lost definitely the last 5 games. One of the sides not playing at 3 o'clock today, the 10th added minute between Blackburn and Leeds. Now goals in the National League to tell you about. It's York City 2, Maidenhead 0. It's the only game that has goals minus Braintree versus Gateshead. And we've got Harrison Richards on the line from Coventry versus Cardiff. Harrison Richards, what's the latest?
Down the right-hand side, Callum Robinson goes to meter, and he sort of scuffs his effort on his left foot just wide of the right-hand post. So it's a let-off for Coventry for sure, and it still remains 1-0 here.
That was a big chance for Cardiff City that would have put them back in front in their game. So still 1 goal apiece, as is Norwich Luton in the Championship. Those really the only goals. West Brom are a goal up away at Preston. It was Carlin Grant scoring on 13 minutes for the Baggies. Looking into the National League North, Radcliffe 1, Darlington 2. They've turned that around after Jordan Holmes scored on 19 minutes, and 2 goals in 4 minutes for Darlington made it 2-1. York City have gone 3 ahead inside of 28 minutes in the National League. Jumping down to the National League South, still no new goals to tell you about, but Boreham Wood leading Bath City by 1 goal to nil. Enfield 1, Torquay 0, Maidstone 1, St Albans 0, and Worthing 2, Weston 0. And Freddie Dorman has got a 3rd goal of the afternoon. Who's this one for, Freddie?
It's 2-1 to Brentford, and this game is absolutely mental. Caleb Okoli went down injured, so we have only just kicked off after that equaliser. But Brentford have stole the ball off Leicester and scored again, and it's Kevin Sharder back into the team for the first time. It's bouncing around everywhere in the box. Wissa had a shot and Buemo had a shot, but it came out to Sharder on the left, and he hit it as hard as he possibly could through a sea of blue bodies, and it's found its way into the back of the net. So it's 2-1 to Brentford here, and Leicester, they're struggling. So Brentford 2, Leicester 1.
Freddie Dorman's game, the case of London buses. I know the game's being played in London, but you see 1 goal and then so many more come in, or normally you see 1 goal, Freddie Kilby's about to talk, and then a goal for one of the 2 sides there, but Leicester bottling it. Brentford 2, Leicester 1. The game is just reaching the final closing stages. 20 minutes left to play between Gosport and Plymouth Parkway in the Southern League. Still goalless in floodlightless Gosport. Goals also in local divisions. Havant and Waterlooville lead Basingstoke by a goal to nil. Marlow, and 2 sides that are in the relegation zone, they lead Frome by a goal to nil. So it's not looking great at all for the Robins, as they might drop to bottom of the league. In fact, they do. They start the afternoon bottom of the league as well. So just 8 points, the only side in the Southern League to not reach double-digit points tally so far. Bracknell are down a goal to nil at home to Merthyr, who keep their place at the top of the Southern League. Freddie Kilby is jumping about all over the place. I said he was a Rottweiler before. He might be a little terrier now. Freddie Kilby, what's happening?
Yeah, it's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0, but Crystal Palace nearly took the lead there. There's a great save by Nick Pope with his legs. I couldn't see who took the shot, but yeah, it took 30 minutes, my first shot of the game to come, and now they seem at London buses, as you seem to get 1 and now you get 3 at the same time. Fantastic. Palace 0, Newcastle United 0.
The headline coming from that game, that Alexander Isak was forced off halfway through the first half. 32 minutes played there. He was subbed off about 10 minutes or so ago. I'm going to go to the other Premier League game in our studio. Nathan Rawlings is watching Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. We've not really heard from you apart from a goal line clearance, Nathan. So what's the latest there?
Yeah, it's been a little bit back and forth here at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest 0, Ipswich 0. Both teams seem to be having success on the counter-attack. The best of the 2 chances came from Morgan Gibbs-White, whose shot was saved down to Murich's left. Morgan Gibbs-White whipped out a few tricks and skills with a little Travella pass to Ryan Yates as he was brought down. As the game stands currently, Connor Chaplin is down injured and seeing treatment from the physio. He only came in from Wes Burns, who was in this position last week. A little bit more end to end. This game's starting to open up 30 minutes in, but at the City Ground it's Nottingham Forest 0, Ipswich 0.
Ipswich being spared of their relegation zone place only by Wolves' capitulation. We haven't heard from Millie in a while and probably won't, because you're probably catching a breath. It is Wolves 1, Bournemouth 3 at Molineux. A couple of equalisers going in the National League South. Bath City are level on 31 minutes at home to Boreham Wood, and Torquay are level away to Enfield Town, who will drop down to bottom of the table as they have been. A couple of red cards to tell you about. And in fact, one of the games that has had a red card in, Woking versus Yeovil. Yeovil have in fact taken the lead in that one. 31 minutes the goal went in, and they're now up to 33 minutes. A few more goals jumping in. South Shields are leading Peterborough Sports by 2 goals to 0. That is in the National League North. And there's been another goal, in fact, Norwich versus Luton. I mentioned earlier that Luton went 1 up on 20 minutes. They're now absolutely bottled at Norwich 2, Luton 1. Freddie Dorman, we haven't heard from you in about 5 or 6 minutes. There's probably been another goal. I don't think there has, but tell us about the game anyway.
It
hasn't. It's died off since that second goal for Brentford. Leicester, they're getting back into the game a bit more, having a bit more possession. They've just had a free kick launched long by the goalkeeper, but it's cleared quite comfortably by Brentford. But I think Leicester's job now, like it looks like, they're going to try and keep the ball and actually try and have an attack. Because other than their goal, they have been completely defensive. And Brentford, they could have a field day here if they're not careful. So yeah, it's still Brentford 2, Leicester 1.
And to drop down to the Championship, there's only 2 goalless games. One of them is Stoke versus Burnley. The other one, which Charlie Bender is watching, is still Bristol City 0, Plymouth 0. But what's the latest?
Well, the latest is both teams are having a really good go at this game. Like you're not allowed to say nothing's happening. So something is certainly happening. Bristol City have been the slightly better team. The first yellow card of the game did go to Victor Paulson of Plymouth for a foul just inside the Plymouth half. The ball was crossed in then from Max Bird, but it was ridiculously high. An awful ball, I'll say. And it went straight out for a throw-in. But other than that, that is the main thing that has happened since you've come to me last. It's still 0-0 here.
Those are 0-0 in that game. So goalless and rather boring, as Charlie Bender describes it. But what isn't boring is is that Maidenhead are losing by 4-0. They're losing to York City, who now jump up to top of the National League. So just them is the automatic spot in the National League, and they'll be jumping up to League 2 if the season was to end now. And they won't be jumping up to is the Premier League, but that's where we'll be jumping with Freddie Dorman.
Thanks, Jamie. Yes, Caleb Okoli, he went down after that second goal for Brentford after trying to stretch for the ball that Wisser got onto the end to, but he couldn't quite get there, so he's been forced off now with an injury, and it looks like it's going to be ex-Saints player Yannick Vestergaard coming on, I believe 6'7", big centre-back, so putting in crosses may not work anymore because that's what Mbeumo has been doing quite a lot. But yeah, it's a bit of a headache for Van Nistelrooy, who's watching in the stands, as one of his main centre-backs who arrived in the summit is now injured, but still 2-1 Brentford.
Yeah, certainly not very good for the Leicester fans listening. Having given up a goal lead by what sounds to be their only chance of the game, they now trail by 2-1. Charlton have a 2-goal lead away at Walsall. Notts County, as I said earlier on, 2-1 up against Peterborough. Still Stockport 2, Brackley Town 0 in the FA Cup, and still Accrington 1, Swindon Town 0. So the FA Cup is kind of all action. Still 4 goalless games in the FA Cup. Southend lead Halifax by 1-0. That in the National League. Jumping down to the National League South, a goal between the battle of the two H's teams. Hornchurch 0, Hampton and Richmond 1. Freddie Kilby across from me. He's got his head in his hands watching Crystal Palace versus Newcastle.
I can't believe what I've just seen, Jamie. I don't know how it's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0. It was a fantastic counter-attack from Crystal Palace. Ismail Assar picks up the ball and charges down to the other side of the field. And he then puts the ball across the box to Daniel Munoz at the back post, unmarked. Just a tap in to score, and he's put it wide, inches wide as well. I can't believe he's actually missed that. It would have been a fantastic way for them to lead at home. But yeah, it's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0.
Wow, the enthusiasm implies it can't be that much of a boring game. Some man we've not heard from in the studio for a while. Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. Nathan Rawlings is watching.
Yeah, still 0-0 here at the City Ground. However, Ipswich, I think, have had the best chance of the game. Amari Hutchinson was running down that right wing, plays a low shot that is saved by Matt Sells. The rebound falls nicely, and it's either Delap or Connor Chaplin that takes it. And Delap actually pokes at it and takes it away from Connor Chaplin. I think if he leaves it for Chaplin there, it could have been almost a certain goal. Mostly a counter-attacking game for both sides. Axel Tuanzebe was given a yellow card for a challenge on Ryan Yates earlier. But yeah, still 0-0 here at the City Ground.
A place that it isn't still 0-0 is in the National League North between Oxford and Farnsley Celtic. Toby Chapman is watching. Toby, what's the latest?
Hi guys, it's good to get in touch now, because I was going to have to say the latest is that the floodlights have been turned on, that a few more fans have turned up for this game as they come back over from Oxford United. There wasn't really anything to report. Just as I was about to say that, a corner's whipped in from the left-hand side, a bit of a melee in the box. The ball falls down to Josh Ashby, and he's able to make it 2-0 for Oxford City. So they double their lead at about 33 minutes in. So the score here is Oxford City 2, Farnsley Celtic 0.
Wow, goals flying in all over the place, especially in some of our lower league games, which is brilliant to see. In the Southern Premier Central, Lowestoft leading Banbury by a goal 2-0. I can also see there's a more flurry of goals in the Isthmian League. Bognor Regis 0, Chatham Town 4. We did see a 9-0 in the Isthmian League last week. Hendon winning by 9 goals to 0, and I think Chatham are looking at that and trying to do one better, and they want to hit 5 before half-time if they want to roughly get up there. Charlie Bender, we've not heard from him in a while. He's watching Bristol City versus Plymouth. What's the latest in the Championship, Charlie?
Well, the latest here is Yu Hirakawa has just had a shot. It was deflected and it's gone out for a corner. So Bristol City will just be about to take this corner. There is something I forgot to tell you about in my last update, though. A brilliant triple save from Dan Grimshaw in the Plymouth net. 3 really quick fire shots came at him. The first one deflected Mehmeti shot from outside the box. He reached up, saved it. The next one from Campering, it took a deflection off Naki Wells, and then he saved it again. And then the final header from Hirakawa from not far out, just to the right of the goal, was saved again. And all his teammates celebrated like they had just scored because they stopped an almost certain goal. It's still 0-0 here.
That one still 0-0, just 1 yellow card as well in that game. Scott Twine starting attacking midfield for Bristol City. He might have had something to do with a former Chippenham Town team as well. We've also got Zach Viner at right back for Bristol City. Does someone in the room have a connection to Zach Viner? Maybe is it Nathan Rawlings? Can you tell us about that brilliant piece of fact? In fact, no, we're going to ignore that fact because we're going to go to Finley Harlow, who is watching Crawley versus Lincoln in the FA Cup.
Hello, Jamie. I'm going to be sick of your voice by the end of today, I think, because it is now 2-2 Crawley Lincoln. Lincoln scored from another poor piece of defending from Crawley. They just couldn't get the ball out. And the ball fell to Jovan Nakama after Tandy Diwaka put the ball back across the box and another header over the top of the young Eddie Breach. It's now 2-2 Crawley Lincoln.
Well, good luck to Finn Harlow there, because of course all of the FA Cup games have to be settled today, so we could be hearing Finn Harlow having to describe penalty shootout action later on. I believe he's the only person in our roster that's watching the FA Cup today. I mentioned a moment ago that Chatham are on the hunt. They really are on the hunt. 5-0 they lead Bognor Regis now in 40 minutes, so they are on the hunt for, I know it's not an Isthmian record, but it's certainly a notable record from recently. Maidenhead have also pulled a goal back against York City, that in the National League, so 4-1 York City lead there. Southend still a goal up away at Halifax. Peterborough Sports in the National League North have halved the deficit against South Shields, and a flurry of goals between Spennymoor Town and Buxton, as it's 1-1 there. Goals in 5 minutes. 2 goals in 5 minutes has lit that game up. There's been a red card as well in the National League South. Weston-super-Mare, who was second in the table at the start of the day, they trail by 2-0 away at Worthing, and they've now been reduced to 10 men on 41 minutes. Slough Town, who had a resounding 3-0 victory in the week, they lead by a 1-0 away at Chelmsford City. So certainly the National League South is interesting. I think the Premier League's ramping up a little bit as well. Nathan Rawlings watching Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich.
Yeah, just a chance there. It's a ball in from about the halfway, well, just in between the halfway line of the box from Elliot Anderson. He's fisted in low, and Jota Silva has poked at it from just outside the 6-yard box. He's managed to, somehow miss the ball, and it's fallen straight into the arms of Murich in the Ipswich goal. The scrappy game continuing to ramp up. Both teams flying in with challenges. Still 0-0, Nottingham Forest Ipswich.
Staying in the Premier League, Freddie Dorman, who sat just next to Nathan Rawlings, has got an update. Has there been a substitution maybe for another injury?
Yeah, so that's now one apiece. Now, Jensen for Brentford had to go off injured. He's had a brilliant 41 minutes, to be honest. He's been picking passes up from deep, and he's been really, really good for Brentford. But he's looks like he's done his hamstring, so he's been replaced by Vitali Janout, who's normally an ever-present in this team. But they went for Kevin Schade today, and it's worked out because he's got a goal. But yeah, Janout has come on to replace Jensen, and it's still Brentford 2, Leicester 1.
There's been a red card in the FA Cup. Accrington 1, Swindon 0. It's gone from bad to worse to Swindon. Daniel Butterworth sent off for a straight red card offence on 41 minutes. So their manager, Ian Holloway, who you would describe him as an eccentric, is not going to be eccentrically happy at his side, potentially crashing out of the FA Cup. They crashed out of the Wiltshire Premier Shield in midweek, losing 9-2 to Bemerton Heath Harlequins. And if you're not from the West Country, you'll have never heard of Bemerton Heath Harlequins, so it shows a lot about the level that Swindon are at. And it shows you also the level that Chatham are at. They lead Bognor Regis by 6 goals to 0 inside of 43 minutes. Goals on 11, 20, 27, 36, 40 and now 42. I mean, they are going to hunt for some sort of record, and it's impressive because Bognor Regis aren't bottom of the league for certain. In fact, they are now that they're trailing, and they aren't towards the top of the table on their opposition Chatham. They in fact just move up to 10th today, but they've got the second best goal difference in the league, courtesy of their 6-0 advantage now, only bettered by Dover, who are nearly double it on 30. So we could be seeing a return to the National League South for Dover. They currently lead Cray Valley by a goal to 0. That in the Isthmian League has been a goal for Morpeth as they've tried to reduce the deficit. Morpeth 1, Matlock 3 in the National League, in the Northern Premier Division. We're going to go all the way up to the Championship. Coventry versus Cardiff. Harrison Richards from the Coventry Building Society Arena. What's the latest in the Midlands?
Coventry will be kicking themselves. It is still 1-0, but they miss a big chance. A beautiful cross on the left, and Bissett is free in the middle, but he just completely misses the ball. And the ball does ricochet off the Cardiff defender because he obviously doesn't expect it to hit him. And it goes just wide, but it's a big chance for Frank Lampard's men, but it does remain 1-0 here.
Staying in the Championship as well, and it'll be South Coast heartache for the ones that were red on the South Coast. Obviously, it was a long old journey across last night. Southampton drawing 1-1, and Portsmouth have doubled their advantage in South Wales. Josh Murphy scoring just a moment ago, and in fact, Matt Ritchie scoring 20 minutes before. So, really, the Barclays wingers scoring for Portsmouth today. If you could describe Matt Ritchie as prime Barclays, I don't know whether you really could, but while it's all action in South Wales over there, should we hear from the man who actually originates from South Wales? He's watching the Championship, Bristol City versus Plymouth today, Charlie Bender.
Well, Zach Viner, a man not known for scoring goals, hasn't scored a goal today, but he's had 3 shots, which is extremely rare for him. The one he's just had is quite ridiculous, if I'm honest. He's picked up the ball on the right touchline, and he's in a crossing position. No one's in the box, so he's decided to just hit it. And I do think the keeper, Grimshaw, was left a bit, I don't think he'd have got it if it was on target. He hit it with a lot of power, and it looked like it caught him out, but it did just go over. So not a bad attempt from Zach Viner. We're into the 45th minute now. We've been given 1 minute of stoppage time, so this half will shortly be over. It's 0-0.
We are coming up to half times around the grounds, as you said, with some sorts of added time. Think about how many fourth officials are holding up boards in the air right now, and that really gives you the scope of how brilliant English football is. And one of the boards that's being hoisted up in our fellow Premier League games has been hoisted up with 8 minutes on it, Wolves versus Bournemouth. So if Millie Payne's going to be joining us, in fact, it's 7 minutes, Freddie Dorman's game, 5 minutes for Freddie Kilby, and then Nathan Rawlings is pointing over 2, and Charlie Bender's pointing to himself. So I think Bristol City have maybe done something, Charlie.
Well, Bristol City did just have the ball in the back of the net. A shot from Anis Mehmeti was saved by the keeper, and the rebound came straight to Naki Wells about 4 yards out, and he put it in, but the flag was up for offside. So maybe some fans in the stadium thought that Bristol City were 1-0 up, but I certainly didn't. You could tell from a mile away he was offside. So it's still 0-0 and about to be half-time. We're very close. Actually, the half-time whistle has just been blown. So it is half-time. Bristol City 0, Plymouth Argyle 0.
So the first half-time in any of our studio games. We've got 2 minutes away in the Gosport versus Plymouth Parkway game. That game kicked off at 2 o'clock. Still 0-0 in the Southern League there. Gloucester 1, Poole 1. That's really some sort of top-of-the-table clash. I mentioned earlier that Gloucester weren't playing, but the Vidi printer seemed to have malfunctioned there. They are currently level, which sees them drop down to second. In fact, they've just scored, so it's Gloucester City 2, Poole 1. So they are up to second. They join AFC Totton, Havant and Waterlooville, and Walton and Hersham in the playoff places. Merthyr Town at top of the Southern League, but they are being held 1-1. Gloucester confirmation that they did score there. Taunton 1, Chertsey Town 2, also in the Southern League, and Basingstoke have pulled one back against Havant and Waterlooville there. Rudy Allen, the scorer. Bouncing all the way up towards the top of the table. I can see it's edging ever closer towards half-time in the Premier League, but in the Championship there's been a goal, and Swansea edging ever back towards a comeback. Swansea 1, Portsmouth 2 now. Portsmouth couldn't bottle this, could they? 2 minutes into added time. Swansea half the deficit. Also a few more goals flying in, not in the National League. Still relatively quiet, other than the one game that seemed to have blown York City's heads away. 4-1 they lead against Maidenhead. A few half-times rolling in the National League South, but not many goals to report apart from completion of the comeback for Torquay United. They lead Enfield Town by 2-1. Jordan Thomas and Will Jenkins-Davis, the scorers on 31 of 34 minutes. So we've already mentioned Ian Holloway today, but one of his counterparts being Neil Warnock, who's in charge at Torquay, not the manager, but the director of football. He will be buoyant with his team's performance. We're going to jump to a half-time score in the Premier League. Nathan Rawlings watching Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. Jim, what's the score and what's the latest really in the game?
Yep. Half-time at the City Ground, it is Nottingham Forest 0, Ipswich 0. It's been a scrappy game, an end-to-end game, counter-attacking one. Just at the end of the half there, both teams getting a little bit of handbags, surrounding the referee, surrounding each other, squaring up. Actually, that resulted in attacking midfielder Morgan Gibbs-White receiving a yellow card just a second of the game. Free kick, the resulting free kick after a foul from Tuanzebe in Ipswich meant that Nico Williams played a ball in that went straight to Muric in the goal. Both keepers have had very comfortable games despite the end-to-end nature of it. It is Nottingham Forest 0, Ipswich 0 at half-time.
And a place that it is just turned half-time to in the FA Cup. Accrington 1, Swindon 1 now. Grant Hall scoring with 2 minutes of added time being played there. So Ian Holloway has gone from angry to very angry with his team going down to 10 men to the side pulling it level just before half-time. Half-time's rolling in the National League South as well. Still Dorking 0, Truro 0. The bunch of amateurs cameras not very going to be happy with a 0-0 score at half-time. Farnborough 0, Chippenham Town 0, still Maidstone 1. St Albans 0, Weymouth 0, Tonbridge 0 as well. And we've got Harrison Richards to provide us an update. He's been watching Coventry versus Cardiff.
Yeah, it's half-time here at the Coventry Building Society Arena, and it is Coventry 1, Cardiff 1. I'd say Coventry were getting on top towards the end of the half. They obviously had that big missed header, or not header, you could say, that really Bassett should have done much better with. But Cardiff have held their own, and I think Frank Lampard will have a few words to say to his players at half-time. But it is half-time, and it is 1-1.
Thank you very much. That's Harrison Richards watching Coventry versus Cardiff, and as half-times roll in from around the country, we're going to bring you Will Hewlett with our half-time sports news update.
Live from Solent University, you're listening to Solent Sports News.
Hello, I'm Will Hewlett and these are your half-time news updates. And in Formula 1, there is a feeling of what goes around comes around as Oscar Piastri was gifted a sprint race win. His teammate Lando Norris had led the whole race but moved over with 2 laps to go to give his McLaren teammate the win. A thank you gesture after the roles were reversed in Sao Paulo a few weeks back in an attempt to help Norris win the driver's title. The Team 1-2 will help extend McLaren's lead in the Constructors' Championship. Cricket is being played all around the world and local side Hampshire Hawks are currently in action against the Lahore Qalandars in the Global Super League. The Hawks bowled first and restricted Lahore to 135 for 5 from their 20 overs, Liam Dawson taking 2 wickets. In response, Hampshire are 11 for 1 in what should be an achievable chase. And over in New Zealand, it is almost game over as England had a fantastic day 3. The Kiwis only have a 4-run lead with just 4 wickets left, with a likely England win coming early on day 4. And into the rugby, the Autumn Nations are taking place between Ireland and Australia at the Aviva Stadium. The Aussies currently lead 10-5 with a try, conversion and a penalty. This is Ireland's head coach Andy Farrell's last game before he leaves the British and Irish Lions next summer. That's all for now. Come back at the end of the full-time whistle. And we'll be going into the halftime updates with Freddie Dorman. Freddie, what's the update with you?
Thank
To hit half-time here, and as I've said that, they played a ball through to Sharda. They've scored. They've actually scored just before the half-time whistle.
Unbelievable.
There were 7 added minutes. We're into the 7th. They've played a through ball to Kevin Sharda. It's his first start. He's a constant bench player. It's his first start for the club, and he scored his second goal of the game to make it 3-1 to Brentford. I was about to say it's been rather boring the last few minutes, but it's now Brentford 3, Leicester 1 right before half-time.
Well, I must be the good luck charm, and we'll pass over to the other Freddie Kilby.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's been a very scrappy game in this one. You know, both teams having sort of half chances, but it's a home side that had the best chances of the game, and they should really be 2-0 up. But it's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 0. Nick Pope had an excellent save with his feet to deny Ismail Assar from close range. And then Daniel Munoz should have prodded it in at the back post, but he scuffed his chance wide, and that was the best chance of the game for Crystal Palace to take the lead. Other than that, Newcastle haven't really created anything themselves. Harvey Barnes has been their best player since coming on for the injured Alexander Isak. He's created a lot of chances down the right-hand side, but nothing has come of them. And yeah, it's been a bit of an underwhelming game so far. It took 30 minutes for the first shot, so hopefully we'll have to see some better action in the second half.
Freddie Kilby there watching Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. We do have the half-times rolling in from around the grounds. We're going to start with the Southampton-based battle, Sholing versus Winchester. Chance Cronick watching the Southern League.
Yeah, half-time here, Sholing 0, Winchester 0. Not the most exciting of games, goal-wise, of course, no goals yet. Sholing controlled possession for parts of the first half, but I could say it's quite even chances either end, but no one could stick the ball in the back of the net. Sholing 0, Winchester City 0.
A really gritty non-league game there. And we're going to jump all the way up to the other side. Half-time in Wolves versus Bournemouth. Millie Payne, I know you've had some time to calm down, but how exciting has that game been?
I'll tell you what, Jamie, what a first half it's been. After we've just finished 8 minutes of stoppage time before we've just finally reached the break, it's still Wolves 1, Bournemouth 3. And Wolves quite unlucky, really, in the second half. Bournemouth sitting back now. They feel they can relax after they've got 2 up on the home side. But they have had 2 penalty shouts, which they've been unlucky to miss. So Wolves missed 2, but Bournemouth given those 2 penalties, so it makes sure they really want to. So, yeah, I'm going to go and pop and get a half-time tea and maybe a visit to the toilet as well. But I'll be back to give you the thoughts from the second half. So half-time here, Wolves 1, AFC Bournemouth 3.
Millie Payne watching in the Premier League, and we're going to go to someone with the same amount of goals as that, 4 goals in Finn Harlow's game. He's been watching Crawley versus Lincoln in the FA Cup.
Hello, Jamie. Thank you very much. It's a good thing that Crawley is so close to Gatwick Airport, as they have come down to land very quickly after taking the 2-0 lead early in the first half, only for Lincoln to get 2 goals back pretty quickly. And since I spoke to you last, my favourite name on the sheet, Darikwa, has come close to scoring from a header from just outside the 6-yard box. It was unbelievably saved by Chelsea loanee Eddie Beach in goal to prevent them from taking a 3-2 lead at half-time. But in some other exciting news I can bring to you, we have got one of our own working here today at Crawley. Stadium announcer is Dylan Shavaz, who graduated from the course just 2 years ago. So you can say we've got 3 people from Solent University working here today.
Oh, that's very good to see. Dave Riley, who sat in the studio, sends his love to all of you Solent sports reporters and those of you not working for us anymore that have fled the nest. We're going to go down to the Southern League. Rio Goodwin watching Totton versus Swindon Supermarine.
Yeah, so it's half-time here at the Stowe Stadium. The score is still 2-0 to the host, AFC Totton. The game seemed to slow down a bit after them first 2 goals, coming from Charlie Austin, who managed to make the most of a goalkeeper error from the 6-yard, along with top scorer Tony Lee getting his 10th for the season. The visitors, Swindon Supermarine, seem to be slowly getting back into the game, but not much happening after the live action. Still at 2-0 at half-time.
The half-time scores rolling in 2-0 for Totton against Swindon Supermarine. There's still a few games that are playing at half-time. In fact, there's a game that has reached full-time in the Southern Premier League South, and we've been giving you updates on that throughout the game between Gosport and Plymouth Parkway. There was no point, really, because it has finished Plymouth Parkway 0, Gosport 0, and a few more games coming in the Isthmian League. It's still Bognor 6, Bognor 0, Chatham 6. Hashtag United being held 1-1 at home to Wingate and Finchley. Zach Hassan, who scored at Dulwich Hamlet last week in the 13th minute, scored in the 13th minute for Hashtag again today. And while we've got the half-time scores from our friends in the Solent Sports News studio for today, we're going to go around chaps' predictions for certain player milestones ahead of the season. Freddie Kilby, what's your prediction for maybe player of the season? We'll start with that one.
Oh, that's a tough one, Jamie. That's a tough one. Player of the season. I think Mo Salah's had a pretty solid season for himself. Although there's a bit of controversy about him potentially leaving Liverpool, so I don't know if he might shoot himself in the foot a little bit with that one. But I'd probably say Mo Salah. I think he's probably had a better season than anyone so far. I don't think anyone's been too impressive so far, in my opinion.
And Freddie Dorman, you've seen some goals in your games today, and obviously that shows how good some players are. Any of the players on your pitch, your pick for player of the season?
I'm with Freddie with Mohamed Salah. It's hard to look past, but if you're talking about a player of the season for Brentford or Leicester, Bryan Mbeumo is quality, isn't he? He's been really good again today. Wiss has also got on the score sheet. But yeah, it's Mohamed Salah, isn't it? He's already on 10 goals this season. Going to leave in the summer quite likely, so he's probably going to make a point of why Liverpool should give him the big contract.
Nathan Rawlings, your opinion? I know you've been watching Forest versus Ipswich, which has been as lacklustre as it sounds for a 3 o'clock kick-off. Who's your thoughts for player of the season?
I mean, it's hard to argue against Salah. I know it's the boring answer. I know we've all said it, but he has been really good. He's cemented himself as arguably the best winger in Premier League history. I mean, there's shouts for the players. Chris Wood has had an unbelievable start to his season, 8 goals in 12 games. Could he make it 9 today? Could he make it even more than that? Who knows? Cole Palmer is always up there in that conversation. Erling Haaland is yet to show what we've seen from him in the past, but there's still plenty of time for him to do so. But at the moment, I'd have to give it to Salah.
Mo Salah, the Solent Sports News shout for player of the season so far. Of course, it's the last day of November. We've just ticked over 4 o'clock, so it's the last time you'll ever see 4 o'clock on the November of 2024. And we really discuss the permanent stuff here on Solent Sports News, don't we? In terms of the Premier League and the risers and fallers, Brentford, which Freddie Dorman has been watching, they jump up to 6th, just 2 points below Arsenal. So Brentford making up the final European spot. Nottingham Forest dropping out of the European spots altogether, as well as Tottenham and Aston Villa. They're falling, all change in the relegation zone as well. Crystal Palace, who are still 0-0, they jump up to 18th, so still inside the bottom 3, but jumping up nevertheless. Wolves are really the big hitters, or the big fallers that are jumping down to 19th, just 4 points away from Southampton. Looking at that relegation battle, chaps, Charlie Bender, who are your thoughts for the 3 that are going to go down this year?
Well, my thoughts on the Premier League today. My game is about to kick back off. The players have made their way out. Bristol City came out first, of course, the home side. But so far, the first half, there's been a game very much a team that aren't that good at home against a team that aren't that good away. So it's been a bit of a stalemate. Bristol City did look the stronger team at the end of the first half, but now Bristol City are just about to kick off to get the second half underway. We're just waiting for the final checks from the referee, making sure everyone's ready. But yeah, the game's about to kick back off again.
Exciting start. It was a very quick half time. I guess it's because Will Hewlett read the bulletin so wonderfully and was also a good luck charm for Freddie Dorman. It feels like your half's just ended, so you've kind of got to sit and wait for a little bit while we chat about football. I guess that's what we've been doing for nearly 3 hours now anyway. So it's listening, it's football, and Bristol City versus Plymouth, as Charlie said, is pretty much the first game to kick back off. A few in the National League and the non-league spheres around the grounds. But we're going to jump. In fact, Freddie Dorman, you said you've got some time. Well, I said you've got some time. So what's your prediction for the 3 that are going to leave the Premier League this year?
It's hard to look past the 3 that came up, to be honest. I know Wolves and Crystal Palace are currently in the relegation zone, but I think those 2 just have a bit more quality. They are too good to go down. I know everyone says that every year, with Leicester a few seasons ago. But I think Ipswich and Leicester will drop back down, and Wolves and Palace will come up. Will move up, sorry. And I think Southampton, I hate to say it, but I think they are guaranteed to go down.
And in terms of the Championship, I know not all of us are really regular Championship watchers, but Nathan Rawlings, who are your predictions? Obviously, at the start of the season, everyone makes those sorts of predictions. Who are your thoughts for who's going to be joining the Premier League next year?
As you mentioned at the start of the season, everyone makes those predictions. I think those teams up there would have been your Leeds, your Burnleys, and I think those 2 teams are up there this season. Sheffield United, of course, as well, always up there. Sunderland in and around, I think they've got a good chance this season. They've got a good squad, so I'd have to give it to probably Leeds, Burnley. Yeah, I'd probably back Sunderland actually as well.
So really, we're getting back to prime Barclays. Sunderland back in the Premier League. I wonder if they're going to do another documentary or something like that. That was good. That was a good documentary, that. Wow. Games kicking back off. National League North and the National League. Freddie Kilby is looking over. I don't think his game has kicked off quite yet. Just Nottingham Forest Ipswich, the only one that has kicked off so far. Well, the championship games are rolling on. But it's certainly interesting. I think really the pick of the games across the whole pyramid so far, it's hard to look past Chatham's 6-goal advantage. But if you're looking up ever so slightly high, York City 4, Maidenhead 1. Braintree versus Gateshead as well. That was a very quick to jump into a 2-all game and with a lot riding on it. Braintree now falling into the bottom 4 of the National League, promoted last year. In fact, no, their solitary point is keeping them above Wellston, who don't play in league action today because of their loss in the FA Cup earlier this afternoon. We'll go through the FA Cup games as well, as they're just going to be starting to kick back off. In fact, Barnsley versus Bristol Rovers. We've not mentioned Bristol Rovers really yet today. That's still 0-0 and still pretty much goalless in the rest of them. In fact, Stevenage versus Mansfield has played nearly 5 minutes already, so little to no added time there. In fact, not only in the second half have they played a lot, Mansfield have actually taken the advantage against Stevenage. Stevenage 0, Mansfield Town 1. Still Swansea 1, Portsmouth 2. That Portsmouth win could propel them up the table. It does certainly a little bit, but not really enough to get them going. 2 points away from the safety net of 21st position, and it would actually be back-to-back wins for the South Coast side if they were to hold on, which they've not done all the way back since March. The 16th and the 29th of March, split by a couple of weeks there, was their last time going back-to-back games with maximum points. Well, they technically got 4 wins a row the back end of last year, and the 3 pre-season friendlies against Gosport, Havant and Bognor, all of sides which haven't particularly played well so far today. No goals as of yet in really most of our games. Really the standout game in the National League South today being Worthing versus Western, and Western, who have been a good side and got through to the first round of the FA Cup a couple of weeks ago. They are down by 2-0 and down to 10 men. It was Dylan Kadji sent off 41 minutes for a second bookable offence. Not as many red cards as I'd have thought, just 4 that pop up on the video printer, and there's 2 in fact of them in the Isthmian division. Potters Bar 2, Chichester 2. I know that's Chichester's technically a South Coast side, but that was a half-time score. Potters Bar went 1 up before Chichester pulling it to 2-1, a brace from Jimmy Wild, and then into added time Potters Bar got it level, and Charlie Bender has shot up for really the first time today. What's been happening in Bristol City?
Well, we just had a brilliant chance. Rob Dickey header straight at the keeper though, but it was saved on the line, so it was almost gone over the line. But I've heard we've got a penalty somewhere else.
I think there is a penalty. Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. Nathan Rawlings. What's happened? Who's conceded it? Who's got it? Has anyone been sent off?
Yeah, finally some action here at the City Ground, and it is a penalty for Nottingham Forest. The ball was played in the box. It's bouncing around a little bit. Jota Silva picks it up. He twists and turns, takes a touch away from, I believe it is Sammy Smodics who's tracking back, and he just leaves a foot out there, clips him and takes him down. It looks, for me, to be a penalty. I'm sure VAR will have a look. It'd be Dan Montague, VAR official there, but yeah, it looks to be a penalty to me. He's twist and turn, he's flicked the ball away from the Ipswich defender, and his left foot has been clipped and he's gone down pretty theoretically, to be fair, but looks to be an actual penalty. Still 0-0, although that score could change very quickly.
Yeah, we will come back to you when the penalty is looking like it's going to be taken. I believe it has been confirmed as a penalty kick. Charlie Bender has shot up. Maybe that's something happening. It doesn't really look like it's still half-time in the 2 games that we had a lot of stoppage time for. Brentford versus Leicester, that was 3-1, a goal deep into stoppage time for Brentford, gave them a 3-1 advantage, and also 3-1 in the other game between Wolves and Bournemouth. This Nottingham Forest penalty, Nathan, has it been confirmed? Will it be taken, and who's taking it?
It has. The ball has been placed down on the spot by none other than Chris Wood, looking to add to his already impressive goal tally. Just takes his run up there. Definitely looked to be a penalty for me. Chris Wood scored 8 goals already this season. As I said, Muric keeping just 1 clean sheet. So the referee blows his whistle. Steps up. And it's slotted home nicely by Chris Wood. It is Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0. Penalty straight down the middle, hard and fast. Muric had no chance. Finally, this game has kicked off into action. You know, if we saw it at the end of the first half, no goals there. But as it stands now, just 4 minutes into the second half, it is Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0.
Finally, a goal for Nathan Rawlings to talk about. There's also another goal for Harrison Richards to talk about. He has been watching Cardiff versus Coventry, or Coventry versus Cardiff, rather.
Yes, and clearly whatever Frank Lampard said at half-time has not worked because it's Cardiff City who go 2-1 up. An absolute unbelievable strike from Alex Robson. 25 yards out, he picks the ball up and he drills across it and it flies into the bottom right-hand corner. A great strike and Cardiff take the lead. It is Coventry 1, Cardiff City 2.
Frank Lampard not blessed with the most wonderful start, but his side got back in it in the first half. Are they going to get back in it in the second half? Down to the Isthmian Division, Billy Rickey have just scored at home to Hendon down there. Maybe some news coming around the grounds. Of course there will be. That's how a football show really tends to work. Woking still a man and a goal down in the National League, so it's not looking very good for that side. They were knocked out in the first round of the FA Cup, and Yeovil in fact were knocked out in the FA Cup by National League South Chesham. Chesham would go on to lose in their first round match. They lost quite convincingly, but Woking as well not looking very happy in the National League despite so many seasons of mediocrity, but staying in the league nevertheless. It looks like maybe the side could be dropping down. They are 18th and one of multiple sides on the low 20 number of points, and 18th place they currently sit, and unluckily for them, 3 of the sides in the bottom 4 still 0-0. One of them are Ebbsfleet, who are pretty much all but confirmed into the National League South next season. 10 points away from safety, just 1 win all year. That's not looking very good for a side that really chop and change managers a little bit too much. Stoke 0, Burnley 1 in the Championship, which means we have 1 goalless game in the entirety of the Championship, and Charlie Bender is sat rather despondently watching it opposite me.
Well, Bristol City just came ever so close to taking the lead. The ball was played over the top to Nahki Wells, who brought it down very well under pressure from one of the defenders. He turned around, played the ball back to Scott Twine, just on the edge of the box, just in the centre of the D, and he's tried to place it, just pass it to the far right corner in the bottom, but it's gone wide. But so close. Still 0-0 here at Ashton Gate.
Well, Scott Twine, an ex-Chippenham Town player, as I mentioned, probably a little bit too much, but there is some news coming out of Chippenham Town. Chippenham Town are winning away at Farnborough. A goal to nil. Kane Bradbury's strike in the 48th minute gives Chippenham Town the advantage. I promise we are definitely an impartial news source, Southern Sports News. Other goals in the National League South include Enfield Town 1, Torquay 3. So really Torquay turning it right round on its head and then slapping Enfield in the face 3-1. And Enfield are going to stay bottom of the league. The risers and fallers being a little bit of jiggery between 4 of the sides in the National League South playoffs. Chippenham rising up to 13th, as well as Hampton and Richmond. They jump up into the top half of the table, but the top 8 were as they were at the start of kick-off. Just 1 point separates the top 3 sides, and of course at step 2 only one side goes up automatically. As it stands, that would be Truro City, but they are currently 0-0 with Dorking, who sit 5th in the table. A goal jumping in the National League North between Curzon Ashton and Chorley, and we said Maidenhead's day was really bad. It's somehow gotten worse. They've been shown a red card on 50 minutes, and we're going to jump to the Southern League between Sholing and Winchester. Chance Cromick can provide us an update.
Yes, Sholing 0, Winchester City 1. I said I wanted some more goals in the second half, and there has been one early on. It was IK Hill who scored from the spot for Winchester City to break the deadlock. So we see a few more goals. Sholing 0, Winchester City 1.
Winchester City with the lead, and we're going to hear about a side that has the lead. Finn Harlow has been attentively watching Crawley versus Lincoln. Finn, you've already had 4. Stop being greedy. Please don't tell me you've got any more.
I can tell you someone else has specifically got 4, and that is Lincoln. They are now 4-2 up with only 3 minutes into the second half. The first goal came from Eric Ring from an incredibly powerful shot just outside the box. and the second from Jack Moylan, who tapped in from close range with a nice flick. It's now 4-2 Lincoln Crawley, 51 minutes played.
Absolute goal fest in the FA Cup. We're going to jump up to the Premier League with Nathan Rawlings watching Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. Something has happened.
Yeah, it's absolute bedlam here at the City Ground. The corner's come in from Ryan Yates. It's the centre-back Murillo who's headed it. It's Muric has saved it onto the crossbar. Chris Wood has tried to jump on the rebound, but as he swung his leg at it, Leif Davis has swung his leg, or arguably, at Chris Wood. And Chris Wood has gone down. The referee, Tony Harrington, had a look at it from VAR, but there was ruled not a penalty. Scrappy game, continued to be a scrappy game. Forest in control, though. It's Forest 1, Ipswich 0.
Charlie Bender jumping about all over the place. Has there been a goal, Charlie?
No, there hasn't. Bristol City have been absolutely peppering the Plymouth goal this second half. Oh, just as Scott Twine almost looked like he was through again. The ball's cut in the box. Mehmeti's got it. He's cut inside. He's put a shot on target. It's deflected. It's gone in. Scott Twine has opened the scoring for Bristol City just after he'd already just smashed the bar. It was deflected off Scott Twine from Mehmeti. So it is 1-0 to Bristol City.
London buses again. Freddie Kilby.
Yeah, it's a goal here, Jamie. It is Newcastle United who have taken the lead, and they've deserved it in this second half. They started off very well. There's a low ball across the box, and it has been bundled in by what may have been Anthony Gordon. Yeah, it's Anthony Gordon, the goal. He bundled it in, and it's a deserved start to the second half. It's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 1.
The studio games all have goals, and that is absolutely fantastic to see during that flurry of goals as well. Portsmouth, they're bottling it. Swansea 2, Portsmouth 2. Liam Cullen on 54 minutes to bring the Swans level, so that drops Portsmouth down to bottom of the Championship. I'm not sure where it puts Bristol City up to, but Charlie Bender has got a beaming smile from ear to ear. Bristol City lead by 1-0, and in the National League South, Farnborough have scored, so it's Farnborough 1, Chippenham 1, but we're not going to talk about that. Still Enfield 1, Torquay 3. FC United of Manchester make it 2-0 against Mikolova in the National League, or not the National League, the Premier League North. Taunton Town have equalised against Chertsey, and as well at the bottom of the table clash. Marlow, Frome have equalised there, but they still stay bottom regardless of the result today. Again in the Southern League, goals flying in aplenty down there. Gloucester have extended their advantage. 3-1 they lead against Poole Town now. We'll go back to Bognor versus Chatham. That is still 0-6. Chatham do lead still over 1. Cray Valley 0 in a crazy game that Chichester were winning by 2-1 at one point. They have now been turned around. Potters Bar 3, Chichester 2. Goals lighting up my screen like it's Christmas. And I know it is like 26 days or something until Christmas. It looks like Christmas lights. And Charlie Bender on the edge of his seat. Have Bristol City done something, or have Plymouth done something, Charlie?
Well, Plymouth have actually just made 2 changes. Michael Obafemi and Andre Gray have come on to replace Hardle, and I'm not sure who else they replaced. But that goal, I had the smile on my face because it was one of the more comical goals you will see. Scott Twine had just hit the bar. The ball came to Mehmeti. He cut inside, but in the box, Scott Twine was tussling with a couple of defenders, and he was on his way down, looking like he'd been fouled. But the ball hit him on his way down and went in, and he claimed the goal. And he has every right to do so. It is still 1-0 here.
And in the National League North, Leamington, who got a mention on I'm a Celebrity last night. They're trailing Kidderminster by 1-0. And Freddie Kilby's up in his seat. He is watching Crystal Palace versus Newcastle, when Newcastle lead by 1-0. What's the latest, Freddie Kilby?
Yeah, it's still Newcastle United 1, Crystal Palace 0. And a very weird occurrence has happened. As the Newcastle fans went ecstatic over that goal, the advertising boards in the away hand has collapsed, which is very unusual. It seems something similar at West Ham a few years ago. But yeah, so just to describe that goal quickly, it was a free kick, especially for the training ground. It was short from Lewis Hall to Sandro Tonali, who then probed it to the back post to Anthony Gordon, who put a low ball across the box, and it was bundled in by Mark Gahey. So it was an own goal in the end. But yeah, a very weird occurrence here, as the advertising boards have collapsed. But it seems the game's continued, so everything should be fine.
Wow, you really get it all on a soccer Saturday, don't you? So many footballs going into goals, and one of them being for Southend. Halifax 0, Southend 2, as well as a few major chances coming all about and about. Producer Will has gone round to the other side to do something. I wonder if he's going to step on a buzzer or something at any point. I know he has done before. He's going to take his seat down now in the FA Cup. Obviously, we've heard about the manic game between Crawley and Lincoln. Both of the Lincoln second half goals have in fact gone down as being on the 48th minute. Charlie Bender's leaning back in his seat and hands in the air, but he's gonna wait, as I think something is still going on in that game. So yes, Crawley 2, Lincoln 4. I think they're almost running out of goals across all of the grounds now. Still Swansea 2, Portsmouth 2, and I think Charlie Bender, will come to you. You've got your head in your hands. What's going on, Charlie?
Well, Bristol City have just made it 2-0. Anis Mehmeti in exactly the same position as he was to create the first goal. This time it's gone straight in to that bottom left-hand corner. It's beat the keeper. He's cut inside. It's a Mehmeti trademark goal. Not that he scored too many. I think that's his 4th goal of the season, but it's a left winger's dream, a modern left winger anyway, the one that likes to cut in on their right foot. It's Bristol City 2, Plymouth Argyle 0.
Well, that means we've got goals in every game in the Championship, every game in the Premier League. There's no games in League One, and the 2 games that took place in League Two today. The first one was Carlisle versus Crewe. That finished 1-1, and Fleetwood versus Colchester was 0-0. So Fleetwood and Colchester letting the side down, really, because that was currently the only goalless game in the top 4 divisions. So shame on you for upsetting me and my nerdy statistical analysis. Fleetwood and Colchester. A red card for Chorley in the National League North. Their afternoon goes from bad to worse as they trail Curzon Ashton by a 1-0 and are now down to 10 men. An hour played on the Chippenham Town game, and in fact a penalty saved as well. The Chippenham Town goalkeeper Will Henry making a penalty spot kick save. He has been known for them, and to be honest, I know about them so much that I made his penalty save goal gif. So and that's got 1,000 views on Twitter already. So practically 2-1 Chippenham, in all honesty. We have seen kick-off, and we've seen about 10 minutes being played between Brentford and Leicester, but we've not heard from Freddie Dorman in a while. So Freddie, the latest in your game, that is currently 3-1 to Brentford.
Bit of a quieter second half, to be honest. Like you said, 10 minutes into the game, Whistler's had a chance, but that was saved comfortably by Hermansen in goal, and Damsgaard also had a long-range shot. But Leicester look a bit more comfortable on the ball. There hasn't been much goal-mouth action, to be honest, and they are trying to get forward now at this point, but every time they get to a certain point they go backwards because Brentford are quite resolute in defence. As I'm saying this, Ayew is driving forward with the ball and going out left to Thomas, but the ball into the box is cleared comfortably by Brentford, so it's still Brentford 3, Leicester 1.
Goals. 4 goals in that game, 4 goals in the game between Norwich and Luton, and there's still just the 1 goal, I think, in Crystal Palace versus Newcastle, but Freddie Kilby jumping about the latest.
Yeah, you're right, Jamie. It's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 1. But Crystal Palace were pleading Darren England just a second ago for a penalty for a handball on Fabian Shaw. But it does look like his hands were planted firmly by his side. So Darren England waved him away. And it'd be Jarrett Gillett in the VAR box looking at that incident. But it's been cleared. So Crystal Palace's appeals for a penalty have been waved away by Darren England. And it looked like the correct decision. It's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 1.
Crystal Palace going down into the Premier League drop zone, and they've been a Premier League club for over 10 years consistently now, and really it's not looking good for the Eagles as well. There's so many games left to play, something like 25 games left to go, but we're about the 33% mark away into the season, and it's really not looking positive for the sides. 5 of the bottom 4 losing today, and if it stays like that, Palace will be the only team in the bottom 5 that don't lose this weekend. Nathan Rawlings, we've not been to you since a chance that really should have been scored. Has there been many since? In fact, no, we're not. We're going to ignore you because Toby Chapman's coming in. He's been watching Oxford versus Farsley Celtic. In fact, we're not going to go to Toby Chapman. Toby Chapman's not quite ready. We're going to go to Rio Goodwin, who's watching Totton versus Swindon Supermarine.
Yeah, so the score is currently 2-0, but not always looking comfortable for the host, as they have just received a red card. Luke Bennett was through on the right-hand side. He looked to have been taken out, but the referee deemed him to have died. He was shown a second yellow, which leaves the host now chasing the game with 10 men, hoping that they can hold on to a 2-0 win.
A precarious position for AFC Tottenham despite their lofty Southern League place. Then we're going to jump up to the Championship now. Coventry versus Cardiff. Harrison Richards watches on.
Yeah, it does remain Coventry 1, Cardiff City 2. Coventry are getting on top since the goal, but haven't really shown many signs of actually any clear-cut chances. They did have a free kick on the edge of the box. Jack Wood only struck it with his left foot, but it deflected just wide of the post, and the following corner did lead to nothing. But I think Frank Lampard will be happy with how his team have responded. Cardiff have made a couple of changes to try and settle themselves back down, but for now it does remain Coventry 1, Cardiff City 2.
And in the National League North, Toby Chapman is watching Oxford versus Farsley Celtic.
It's been a strange game because it will go quiet for about 5 or 10 minutes and then suddenly something will happen. The second half started quite quietly, but then Oxford City have made a good little chance breaking up the left. The ball fell to midfielder Tom Scott and he was able to put it to the bottom right-hand side of the net. So that makes it Oxford City 3, Farsley Celtic 0.
Running riot are Oxford City in the National League North. They've got a 3-goal advantage. I think someone in the Premier League's got a 3-goal advantage for Eddie Dorman.
I think it might be game over now. It's Brentford 4, Leicester 1. And Kevin Schade, the player who's always on the bench, gets his first start. And he might be starting from more often now because that's his hat-trick. He was slid through on goal by Nathan Collins of everyone. 1-on-1 with Hermansen in goal. And he just slots it into the bottom right-hand corner. Nothing he could have done about it. But that's a hat-trick for Kevin Schade. And Brentford lead here, 4-1.
Not looking good for Leicester. They should sack their manager. Oh, wait, no, they did that last week. I don't know what the Leicester fans are going to think about Ruud van Nistelrooy coming in. I mean, he's got really a bit of a baptism of fire with his side. 4-1 down. Obviously, he doesn't take charge for about a week or so. Freddie Kilby bouncing about all over the place. Not sure what the score is in your game, but tell us about it, Freddie Kilby.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. It's Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 1, but Crystal Palace should have equalised there. It was a fantastic long ball from Mark Gahey in his own half. He's played it into Ismaila Sarr, who's made a great run in behind the defence. A fantastic first touch as well. And he pokes it towards goal, but it's a fantastic save from Nick Pope to deny him. And then Daniel Munoz followed up at the back post for a rebound, but the subsequent shot was blocked by Dan Burn. So close to that equaliser, but it's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 1.
All action in the Premier League then. Sutton lead AFC Finals by a 1-0. That in the National League, and Curzon Ashton have doubled their advantage in the National League North. That and the only game in the National League North with a red card. The Championship table currently right now with Burnley leading by a 0-0. They're one up against Stoke City away from home. They leapfrog Leeds, who were helpless but to stop Blackburn in the 1:30 kickoff today. Todd Cantwell's penalty gave Blackburn the lead, so Leeds drop as it stands down to third position with 7 points separating them and West Brom. And Charlie Bender shouts goal. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's Anis Mehmeti has made it 3-0 to Bristol City. A brilliant counter-attack. Started with George Earthy just in his own half. Found Wells in loads and loads of space, just played the ball down the line to him. Wells ran onto it, played the ball across the box to Anis Mehmeti. He had plenty of time. He cut inside yet again and smashed it into the top left corner. Goalkeeper didn't stand a chance. The one defender in front of him also didn't stand a chance as he slid to the floor trying to block it. It is 3-0 to Bristol City here at Ashton Gate.
And that might explain why Plymouth have the worst defence in the Championship. 37 goals they've conceded now, so they drop down to a -19 goal difference. Still 2 points safe between them and the drop zone, and Portsmouth in 24th, holding up the foot of the table. But yeah, really not looking good for the Green Army. They conceded 6 in the week against Norwich City, and they've conceded 3 in the opening 70 minutes here today. Let's bounce down to the Southern League. Chance Cromick is watching Sholing versus Winchester.
Yeah, Sholing 0, Winchester City 1, but things are getting worse for Sholing. They just got a man sent off. It was Harry Taylor, his second yellow, brought down a Winchester City man. And yeah, they're down to 10 men. It's not looking too good for them. Sholing 0, Winchester City 1.
Well, we've gone from the Southern League, pretty much our basement for today. Let's bounce all the way up to the Premier League. Millie Payne watching Wolves versus Bournemouth.
Well, we've got some substitutions about to be made for both sides. We've got Carlos Ford and sorry, I can't quite get out who it is. And Gonçalo Guedes coming on for the home side Wolves just at the moment. Two very attacking substitutions. Wolves and Gary O'Neill clearly not happy with the scoreline currently. AFC Bournemouth also making a substitution. We've got Dango Vasara coming on for David Brooks. So they must also not be happy with the amount of goals they've scored. Almost 1 point. So number 24. Number 27. Sorry, I can't find it. John Lucia Bellegarde. So, yeah, Gary O'Neill clearly not happy with his forward at the moment. But
all action it really was in the first half for Wolves and Bournemouth, whereas Freddie Dorman in our nice and warm studios managed to watch 5 goals today. So have that, Millie. Oh, that's certainly what Freddie would be thinking. And Freddie's got a substitution. Do you want to tell us about that in Bournemouth 4, Leicester 1?
Yeah, so Leicester are taking off Jamie Vardy, Soumare and Buonanotte. So a triple substitution for Patson Daka, Oliver Skipp and Steffi Mavididi. So you could say they're going for it. They are 4-1 down, so there's not much to lose. Ayew did just have a chance, similar to the one he scored against Southampton, where it's pulled back on the edge of the box, but his first time shot went way over the bar. But it looks like Leicester are going to go for it, but it's still Brentford 4, Leicester 1.
And we've mentioned the game we've probably mentioned the most in the National League today was York City versus Maidenhead, and we said that Maidenhead had gone down by a man at 4-0 down. In fact, it was 4-1 down. Maidenhead have scored again, so they've got 20 minutes left to get back into the game. It's currently 4-2 away at top of the league. If Maidenhead can pull that back, that'll be a quiz question to keep an eye out for the foreseeable future. Also in the National League, Braintree, they lost their manager in the week and they're going to be losing a man now, 70th minute. They've been shown a straight red card, the third red card in the National League, which if you're using that as the metric for violence, it's the most violent league in English football's top 7 divisions today. Down in the Southern League Central Division, Bedford against Biggleswade. Bedford lead by 3-2. They were 2-0 up before being pegged back on 54 minutes, and the Bedford side are back in front. There's also 1 red card in that division, and also a red card in the Southern League between Wimborne and Dorchester. It was currently 1-1 between those two sides, and it's Tom Bragg that was sent off 55 minutes, so it's about 10 minutes ago. It was Wes Fogden, actually, who scored on 60 minutes. Wes Fogden down at Dorchester. We love the marvel of Southern League football. We're going to go across to the Premier League. Nathan Rawlings watching Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich.
Yeah, it remains Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0 here at the City Ground. The game has slowed down a little bit just as the teams catch their breath from that energetic first few minutes of the second half. A couple of substitutions then to tell you about 5 or so minutes ago. Ipswich took off the Irish Sammy Smodics and brought on Jack Clark, formerly of Sunderland. And about a minute ago, Nottingham Forest made a change. They took off the former Newcastle man, Elliot Anderson, and have brought on the Argentine, Nicolas Dominguez, hoping some fresh legs can really bring some energy to this game for both sides, and much needed energy, I must admit, as it's cooled down from that feisty first few minutes. But as it remains in the City Ground, Chris Wood's goal, the only difference maker. Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0.
It's been a turnaround in the FA Cup. We talked about Accrington Stanley. We asked who they were. Well, they're not very good at football. Accrington 1, 10-man Swindon 2. A goal on 47 minutes, or the second minute of added time from Grant Hall, got Swindon level. And then just a moment or two ago, Swindon in front. They even missed a penalty about 10 minutes ago. Harry Smith missing from the spot. But Swindon have been peppering the Accrington Stanley goal, and they could be through to the FA Cup third round. Could we have a repeat about 5 or 6 years ago? Swindon Town playing Manchester City at home. It was a joyous day for those in Swindon, maybe a bit more joyous for those Swindon fans that have travelled to Accrington. That game's got a red card. A game that's got another red card is in fact Braintree versus Gateshead. They've been shown 2 straight red cards in 3 minutes. So Braintree losing their manager, losing players and losing their head by the looks of it in that game. They're drawing 2-2 with Gateshead. And another game in the National League that's got a red card we've already talked about, York City versus Maidenhead. 5th goal for York City. They're surely not going to drop that one now. It could potentially be Ollie Pearce, who was such a crucial goal scorer for Worthing in the National League South a few years ago, joining Adam Hinshelwood and leaving Worthing and taking the rather arduous journey to York City. 5-2 that they lead. Curzon Ashton have made it 3-0 away to Chorley. So Chorley Again, one of the sides that are just really dropping points and dropping their heads due to some silly red cards, and Chorley started the afternoon top of the table, and they're going to only fall 2 seconds to Curzon Ashton. So in the top of the table clash, Chorley losing their heads well and truly. No real more goals in the Premier League. Someone we haven't spoken to in a while is Charlie Bender. Bristol City 3, Plymouth 0. About 15 minutes left to play. Charlie, how's the rest of this game going to pan out?
Well, Bristol City have dominated this second half. I think the rest of this game is just going to be more Bristol City domination. They're on the attack here, looking to find a fourth. I think Anis Mehmeti has a very good shout of featuring in the FC Ultimate Team of the Week. 2 goals and an assist for him. Naki Wells has just been subbed off. Sinclair Armstrong has come on for him, but Sinclair Armstrong has scored 2 goals this season. Mehmeti scored 2 goals in this game, so it's 3-0 to Bristol City.
Goals flying in the National League South as well. Chelmsford have completed the turnaround. Chelmsford 3, Slough Town 1. Salisbury lead Hemel Hempstead by a goal to 0. We're going to go across to Nathan Rawlings watching him. Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. No, we're not. He's going to point and laugh at me. Oh, I see why he's pointing and laughing at me. Farnborough 2, Chippenham Town 1. Will Henry's penalty save 10 minutes ago. Not enough. And Chippenham Town are down and losing, having gone up in that match. Needham Market have equalised against Scarborough in the National League North. And we're going to go back to FA Cup action. Finn Harlow watching Crawley versus Lincoln.
Hi, Jamie. For the first time this evening, I've got absolutely nothing to update you with score-wise. It is still 4-2 to Lincoln. The sun has set here, and I think it also has on Crawley's chances of making it through to the next round. They've done nothing towards the goal. They've been lacking that final pass, whereas Lincoln have just been peppering towards their goal. Eric Ring has been running rings around the Crawley defence, and it has not gone well so far, but he's just yet to get that final ball in the goal. It's still 4-2 Lincoln here.
Yeah, surely Lincoln into the third round of the FA Cup. Did they have an FA Cup run a few years ago? Yes, they did. They played Arsenal in the next round. Score update from the Isthmian League. Bognor 1, Chatham 7. And we're going to jump to Harrison Richards, Coventry versus Cardiff in the Championship. Frank Lampard's first game in charge of Coventry. How is it going, Harrison?
Well, it is still 2-1 to Cardiff. There was a real sense of frustration around the CBS Arena here. Coventry fans not too happy. They've been really sloppy this second half. Not many clear-cut chances, and one chance about 5 minutes ago through Mason Clark, who cut in on his right foot, back onto his left, but then scuffed his effort well over the bar. Cardiff have defended superbly, to be fair to them. But at the moment, we did have some chance from the away fans towards Frank Lampard, saying you're getting sacked in the morning. In response, he brought Ellis Sims on, who last season was a force for Coventry, especially in their magical FA Cup run. But this season, he has just 1 goal to his name at home. But can he make the difference for Coventry? We will see, but it does remain at the moment. Coventry 1, Cardiff City 2.
Another live game we're going to go to is Toby Chapman watching Oxford versus Farnsley Celtic in the National League North.
The floodlights are on here now, guys, but there has been a light that has been shining brighter than those going around. Midfielder Zach McEachran has been pulling the strings for Oxford City. It's about time he gets his reward with a goal. He was able to shimmy in between 2 defenders and then put it low to the keeper's left. That makes it Oxford City 4, Farnsley Celtic 0.
Goals, goals, goals in the National League North. Really is one of the underappreciated leagues, especially as we are so far south. Let's go to the Premier League. Nathan Rawlings watching Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. You teased me last time, so give me some juicy information now, Nathan.
Yeah. Still 1-0 here at the City Ground. A triple change then for Nottingham Forest as they take Nico Williams off for Alex Moreno. They take not Elliot Anderson, sorry. They take Jota Silva off for Anthony Elanga, and Murillo comes off for defender Morato. Very similar names there. In terms of Ipswich also made a couple of changes. The Swedish Kajust, the midfielder, he's on a yellow card. He came off for Jacques Taylor, and Connor Chaplin, who's had a quiet game for the Tractor Boys, has come off for Welshman Wes Burns. As I said, it's cooled down after the flurry of goals. Actually, another 2 changes looks to be for Ipswich. That's Nathan Broadhead. But yeah, as it remains, Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0.
And there's been another goal in a Premier League game. Millie Payne at Molineux.
Well, Jamie, I thought it was game on back here at Molineux with Wolves getting 1 back and reducing the deficit to 2 goals to 3. It was a brilliant thread from Geddes to get it to Håkan Strand Larsen into the box to smash it in. for his second of the game. However, AFC Bournemouth now have a third penalty this time. It was Emma Nielsen again who was fouled in the box by keeper Jose Sarr as Justin Kluivert now steps up to the penalty spot to take it. All the players are hovering around the box, and I don't think anyone, not even the Bournemouth fans, stuck in the corner to my left-hand side, can quite believe what's going on. Justin Kluivert ready, hopeful to get his hat-trick then, as Jose Sarr jumps around once again on the line, in the goal. He's waiting for the referee to blow his whistle for him to take the penalty. Kluivert patiently waiting right now to make it that 2-goal deficit for them once again. The whistle is blown. Kluivert steps up, runs, and pull as you like. Justin Kluivert just taps it into that bottom right-hand side of the goal. And Bournemouth once again have a 2-goal lead. It is Wolves 2, AFC Bournemouth 4 in the 73rd minute here at Molineux.
Justin Kluivert with a hat-trick, all of them from the penalty spot. Let's stick in the Premier League and go over to Freddie Kilby watching Crystal Palace versus Newcastle.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. It's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 1, but the home side are really knocking on the door now. A great chance fell to Jean-Philippe Mateta. The ball came in from the corner. It fell at his feet. He took a swivel to take a shot off goal, but he got underneath the ball and absolutely blazed his effort over the bar. But Palace have added some more firepower into their sides. They've taken Eberechi Eze off and also Will Hughes off, and they put on Eddie Nketiah and Justin Devaney. So they're really going for it now to try and find this equaliser. They're very hungry, but they just need that final product. That's what they've been missing this whole game. It's still Crystal Palace 0, Newcastle United 1.
Norwich City leading by 3-2. They were 1-0 down in this game, then 2-1 up, then 2-2. Now Marcondes has scored with 9 minutes plus stoppage time left to go to give the Canaries the lead. Confirmation that Bournemouth's goal has counted, will count. Justin Kluivert's hat-trick from the penalty spot, I believe, is the first ever hat-trick of penalties scored in a Premier League game. Can I get producer Will to fact-check that one for me? But that's really sensational. I mean, a total of 36 yards to score a hat-trick from probably isn't the most ever, but it's also probably not the least ever. Salisbury City lead by 3-0 against Hemel Hempstead. 3 goals in 6 minutes for Salisbury. 71st, 74th and 77th. I mean, they lead Hemel Hempstead by 3-0, who I believe they parted ways with their manager in the week. If they haven't, they're very soon to do so anyway. It's really not looking good for Hemel, who spent time at the top of the National League South this season, and they are dropping down. In fact, I don't think there ever has been a Premier League hat-trick of penalties, but there has been a hat-trick of set pieces. Letitia and Rooney have both scored from direct free kicks and penalties before, but never 3 direct penalties in one game. So Justin Kluivert is a history maker. Torquay United back in front. In fact, in front yet again. 4-1 they lead at away to Enfield Town. It's been about 30 minutes since they last scored, so they thought they might as well knock one in the back of the net. Anyway, 4-1. Maidstone in the National League South as well have had yet another goal chalked off. That's the third one today that Maidstone have had in the back of the net, but has been ruled out. Let's check on Chatham. Have they scored in a while? It was 7-1 the last time I looked, and still stays 7-1. No hat-tricks in any of the 7 Chatham goals, though. Freddie Sears scoring twice, as well as Jack Evans scoring twice, and John Yafua with just Kasim Ido getting the opening and the only person in a Chatham shirt to have scored once. How boring. Tiverton lead Walton and Hersham by 1-0. Chertsey in front against Taunton with 10 minutes to go there. Haven't 4, Basingstoke 1. Haven't scored 3 away at Winchester last week. Or no, did they score 4 away at Winchester last week? Haven't Waterlooville 4-1 up, and they scored 3 last week away at Winchester. So 7 goals in the space of a week for Haven't. Stourbridge versus Hales Owen in the Central League. A battle of the two sides in and around the Birmingham area. 1-1 in the Southern Premier Central. A few goals being knocked in the Northern Premier League, but not really many goals in Brentford versus Leicester with 10 minutes left to play. So Brentford 4, Leicester 1. Apart from the obvious hat-trick scorer, Freddie Dorman, who else has impressed you today?
And Burma again, obviously he's consistent, isn't he, down this right-hand side. He's given Luke Thomas a real headache this afternoon. Brentford have made a triple change about 10 minutes ago. It was Norgard, Damsgaard and the hat-trick hero Sharda coming off. Igor Thiago, the club record signing, has come on to replace Sharda, and also Carvalho and Yarmulke. It's Brentford still in control. I think Leicester are now sort of a damage limitation job, to be honest. Mavadidi's had a few runs through on goal, but hasn't really been able to test Flecken in goal. He's been probably quite bored this afternoon. As I've said, that Brentford have had an attack, but Connor Cody's come across to deal with it. Still Brentford 4, Leicester 1.
In the FA Cup as well, we've already said that Swindon have turned a 1-0 deficit into a 2-1 lead with 10 men, and we're going to leave the FA Cup entirely and we're going to go down to the Southern League. Rio Goodwin watching Totton versus Swindon Supermarine.
Yeah, so the score here is now 2-1. The away side have managed to take advantage of the red card that Tottenham received. Some sloppy play in the box left. Substitute number 16, Davidson's Burgess, in to strike the ball away from 6 yards. The score is now 2-1, and the side will be struggling to hope that they can hold on to this lead towards the end.
Yeah, it's going to be nervy for many Tottenham fans that have travelled to that game, and it's not too long of an away day for Swindon if they don't get back into this, unlike their counterparts Swindon, who have got back, but they had a bit of a further away day going away to Accrington. Also in the FA Cup, Exeter lead Chesterfield by 2-0. Oldham lead Leyton Orient by 1-0, so that's one non-league side dumping out an EFL side. In Morecambe versus Bradford City, Bradford reduced to 10 men. Morecambe lead by 1-0. Salford 2, Cheltenham 0, and we're into added time of Stevenage versus Mansfield. That goal just after half-time, separating those two sides. Stockport 3, Brackley Town 1 will put an end to Brackley's impressive non-league run to the second round of the FA Cup, and Walsall 0, Charlton 2. Cambridge United, in fact, just conceded against Wigan, so that's 1-1 there with 5 minutes left to play. They will be going to this game decided today, I believe, going to extra time and then spot kicks. Peterborough have extended their advantage against Notts County 4-2 that game. Peterborough at one point in the game, 16 minutes in, they'd already been 1-0 up and then pegged back to 2-1 down. Now they're in front with a 2-goal buffer. Wigan, a confirmation they have scored, and there's been another goal in the crazy game in the FA Cup, Crawley versus Lincoln. Finn, are Lincoln going to be a little bit nervy in the final 5 minutes, are they?
I think they could be, Jamie. I said before the sun had set, but there could be an early sunrise here for Crawley. It's now 3-4 to Crawley. There's a great goal from Jeremy Kelly, who smashed it in from the edge of the box into the bottom right-hand corner after Lincoln failed to clear their lines. With just about 7 minutes to go, plus added on time, it's Crawley 3, Lincoln 4.
Wow, what a game you have picked to go to there, Finn Harlow. Many of our reporters, other than maybe sadly Chance Cromick, who hasn't really seen too many goals in his game, a game that's seen goals in quick succession. Salisbury lead Hemel Hempstead by 4-0. 4 goals in 11 minutes, and Hemel Hempstead capitulating once more. Hashtag United leading Wingate and Finchley by 4-1. It is still Bognor 1, Chatham 7, so Chatham really taking off the afterburners and just looking for something stable. Horsham 4, Bowers and Pitsea 0, and we're going to jump to Harrison Richards, Coventry versus Cardiff.
Well, you're going to have to stay with me here because Coventry have got a penalty, and it's a handball, but it took the referee a good 10-15 seconds before he gave it. Clearly consulting with his linesman now. The Cardiff players are not too happy about it, but it is a penalty to Coventry. Unsure who's going to take it. We are in the 87th minute, so this will be a massive goal for Frank Lampard's men. The Cardiff players are not happy at all. Trying to delay it as much as possible. There's been a couple of yellow cards shown. And I believe it's going to be Jack Rodoni who's holding the ball at the moment. A lot of noise around me at the moment. It was a weird one, yeah. Like a 10-15 second wait before the referee finally decided to point to the spot. But finally, everyone is outside the box except for the penalty taker, the referee, and the goalkeeper. The ball is placed down. I'm not sure who's taking it, but the referee is talking to the player. And the keeper's coming off his line. I think he's about to be booked. Yeah. Keeper's been booked all week. In goal there for Cardiff. He's been booked. Right footer for Coventry. Any moment now. And listen, the stadium will erupt if this goes in. There are phones out right near me. And the whistle is about to go. And it's in the bottom left corner. Victor Claus, the taker, and he scores for Coventry. And there's no celebration. They pick the ball up and they run straight back to their end. It is 2-2 here. And it's a big goal for Frank Lampard's men.
Really is a big goal for Frank Lampard's men, and there's another goal in the Championship as well between Bristol City and Plymouth. Charlie Bender.
Yeah, it's 4-0 to Bristol City. Sinclair Armstrong, the substitute, has come on and, well, I wouldn't say he's changed much because Bristol City was scoring loads before he came on. He's put it past the keeper. He was played through on goal, had plenty of time. It's a brilliant finish. And that is his third goal of the season. It is 4-0 to Bristol City in the 91st minute.
All wrapped up pretty much then for Bristol City. And let's go over to Molineux, where Wolves were nearly on for an edgy finish until Bournemouth scored a penalty. And Millie Payne has got a fact for us from the Molineux press area.
Well, Jamie, I've just had confirmation here at Molineux that Justin Clymer is the first ever player in the Premier League to score a hat-trick of penalties in one game. And even more history-making for AFC Bournemouth as well, as Evan Nielsen, the man who won the penalties for AFC Bournemouth, is the first ever to do that as well. So AFC Bournemouth really on top here, and we've got about 5 minutes of normal time left to play. Wolves 2, AFC Bournemouth 4.
Absolutely fantastic stat, Millie. Top tier fact. If I hadn't said it about 10 minutes ago, I really do apologise for that one. But really good fact, in fact, that Evan Nielsen, the first player to ever win and have 3 penalties scored in that game. So really, our journalists have picked some really top tier games to go to. And Freddie Dorman, have you picked a top tier game to watch in the studio?
It started off that way, but the last sort of 10 minutes or so has dropped in quality significantly. Like I said, Leicester, I think, sitting back now, and it's a damage limitation job. Brentford trying to get a fifth. Carvalho's come on. He's looked sharp. He did obviously cost, 20 million from Liverpool in the summer, so you'd hope so. But still, right now, it looks like it could remain 4-1, and Brentford will be quite happy with that. So, yeah, Brentford 4, Leicester 1.
Goal in the National League South, Farnborough make it 3. Another penalty. This one goes in. Salisbury 5-0 up against Hemel Hempstead. Every time we talk about that game, we talk about Hemel Hempstead bottling it. It's 5-0, really. Just impressive performance there from Salisbury. The first of the full-time scores rolling in as well. Hartlepool versus Barnet, which I actually don't think we've mentioned at all today. That's finished 0-0 in the National League. But really, a wonderful day of football. Not ready for Dorchester, though, as they've just picked up 2 red cards. So they are down to 9 players. Not the only team to have done that in the football pyramid today, as Braintree, in fact, I mentioned they picked up 2 red cards. I think one of them has been turned around, so there is just the 1 red card in that National League game. Nathan Rawlings, I'm going to ask the same question that I did to you for Freddie. We've had some big and busy games today. Yours, just the 1 goal, but has it still been an exciting watch?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the sheer number of substitutions in this game, I think we've had both teams made all 5, making it 10 new players on the pitch. It's really brought the energy back up from the slow first half and the kind of lull we had in excitement in that second half. It is still 1-0 in Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest are the team showing more quality, showing more passion, more drive to get forward. Ipswich not really showing enough to get back into the game. However, after 7 minutes added, we played 2 of those minutes. Still 5 minutes to go, still plenty of time for something to happen and for the game to change. It is Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0.
I got a full-time score as well, I believe, for Charlie Bender watching Bristol City versus Plymouth.
Yeah, it is game over at Ashton Gate. Bristol City 4, Plymouth Argyle 0. Plymouth's awful away record just got even worse. They're still on 2 points, and now they've conceded 26 goals in 10 away games. So that's not looking very good for Wayne Rooney. This trial, perhaps a lot harder than any trials his wife has had to go through in the jungle on I'm a Celebrity. But Bristol City, a fantastic performance. 2 goals from Anis Mehmeti, a goal from Mark Sykes, and then to finish it off, a goal from Sinclair Armstrong. A full-time score, 4-0 Bristol City.
There's been a goal in the FA Cup second round as well. Swindon were ahead with 10 men, but they've conceded in the 91st minute. Accrington 2, Swindon Town 2. They will be going to extra time as it stands. Also, a late deciding goal in the Isthmian League. Potters Bar were 1-0 up. They were then 3-2 down, but they've turned it around and they lead by 4-3 against Chichester City. And all of that with 10 men on the pitch for the most of the game. Also in the Southern League, Merthyr Town, top of the Southern League, and they've done it again. 89th minute, they have scored against Bracknell. Another goal, this one in the Northern Premier League, Macclesfield, of course owned by Robbie Savage. 91st minute, they have scored against Workington, so there's really some stoppage time goals floating about. Bath City have conceded in stoppage time. Bath City 1, Boreham Wood 2, 91st minute for Boreham Wood. Hereford have doubled their advantage against Rushall, but that was already 2-0, so I can stop getting so excited about that one. There's full times rolling in from the Championship. Preston 1, West Brom 1 is a full-time result. Stoke City 0, Burnley 2 full-time. Norwich City 4, Luton 2 a full-time result. We're into stoppage time for Swansea versus Portsmouth. Still 2-2. Portsmouth were 2-0 up after 45 minutes in that game, but an own goal from Ogilvie in stoppage time, and then 54 minutes, Cullen scoring for Swansea to pull that one level. We've got full times coming in. In fact, that Swansea versus Portsmouth game is now full-time confirmed score. Portsmouth stay bottom of the Championship. Ebbsfleet 0 versus Boston is a full-time score in the National League. Halifax 0, Southend 2, Hartlepool 0, Barnet 0. We're into 7, 6 and 4 worth of added minutes in the National League games that are left. It is York City 6, Maidenhead 2 now, so Maidenhead flirting with a comeback, but instead deciding to break it all off and leave, and it's 6-2 versus York, so the side that are top stay top of the National League. We're into added time of Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich. Nathan Rawlings, is it going to end that way?
It's looking like that. Forest actually on the attack currently, the team looking more positive and pushing for a second, surprisingly. Just a chance then, Ramon Sosa, the substitute, cut a ball back for Captain Yates, whose shot was blocked. If the game managed to stay as it is, it will be Matt Sales in the Forest's goal, 5th clean sheet of the season, and also the first time in 5 games that Ipswich have failed to score. Definitely interesting end to this game. Forest still having the majority of the possession, the majority of the success. However, Chris Wood's goal, the only difference maker, as I said before, it's Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0.
Goal at Selhurst Park, Freddie Kilby!
Thank you, Jamie. It's a goal for the host. It's Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle United 1 in the dying minutes of the game. And it looks like it's Munoz after all those attempted challenges at goal throughout the game, and he's finally got his reward as it was across to the back post, and he was there to nod it in finally for once, and he's got a snatch a point for the home side, who've been knocking on the door all of the second half, and I can't say it's not deserved, as they've been throwing many shots at Newcastle United, and finally one has stuck, and it's in the dying minutes of the game. And Oliver Glasner's on the touch, running up and down the touchline, punching the air, and the home crowd are ecstatic. It's Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle United 1.
Wow, Crystal Palace lifting themselves out of the relegation zone for however temporarily that might be if they concede again. But that could be a big, big moment in their season, only taking a point. But it could be a big, big moment. Let's jump down to the Southern League. Rio Goodwin watching Totton versus Swindon Supermarine.
So full time here, the final result, AFC Tottenham 2, Swindon Supermarine 1. Host Tottenham had a very good start, goal from Charlie Austin, and top scorer Tony Lee gave the hosts the advantage in the first 20 minutes. Things slowed down a bit as the away side started to come in, and then things changed when Luke Bennett received a red card for diving, second yellow. Sub David Sims-Burgess managed to pull one back for the visitors, but they couldn't capitalise at the end as they pushed to try and score. They looked very good at the end after that red card. Everything changed, but they just couldn't quite find that last-minute equaliser. Score finished 2-1. Tottenham win.
Tottenham taking all 3 points there, and we're going to stay in the Southern League. Chance Cromick watching Sholing versus Winchester.
Yes, full-time Sholing 0, Winchester 1. It was a frustrating cold afternoon here in Sholing for the home side. The first half, they controlled possession. No goal, though, for either side. They really should have got one in, though, the home side, Sholing, the Boatmen. And then the second half, they come out and Winchester City got a quick goal. And of course, Harry Taylor for Sholing got sent off. And it was actually a straight red, not 2 yellows, as I said earlier. That's a correction. So, yeah, all around a frustrating match for the Boatmen. It's been chance comic here. Sholing 0, Winchester City 1.
And that lifts Winchester City out of the relegation zone of the Southern League. There's been a goal in the FA Cup late on. I believe it's an equaliser coming in. It was Leyton Orient who were losing, and they were going to be one of the only victims of a non-league cup upset until the 97th minute, and they've equalised against Oldham. So that game is one of multiple that will be going to extra time. We got a full-time score in from the Premier League. Nathan Rawlings, Nottingham Forest versus Ipswich.
Yes, it is full-time at the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich Town 0. Chris Wood's penalty, the goal deciding the game. The game finished quite frantically with an Ipswich corner where Ipswich keeper Murich came up, had a bit of pushing and shoving in the box. However, they didn't get the fruits of their labour, and it remained 1-0. A scrappy game, a tight game, one that Forest controlled for most of the 90 minutes. City Ground, it's all finished here at the City Ground. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich Town 0.
Wow, pretty big result, pretty boring result, but Ipswich really stay in the Premier League bottom three. We're going to go to Coventry. Harrison Richards watching. Last we heard, Coventry scored a late penalty to get level. What's the latest there, Harrison?
Yeah, no more action. It was full-time. Coventry City 2, Cardiff City 2. A decent point for Frank Lampard in his first game, but I feel heading into it, they would probably, obviously with the name of play, probably be slightly disappointed not to get more. They had the better chances throughout the whole game, but credit to Cardiff City's defence, as they were pretty superb, and if it wasn't for our ball from the handball at the end, they would have gone away with all 3 points. But I've been Harrison Richards. I've covered Coventry 2, Cardiff 2 at the Coventry Building Society Arena. I'll see you later.
Full time as well in the Premier League. Millie Payne watching Wolves versus Bournemouth.
Well, it's not quite full time yet, Jamie. We've still got about 3 minutes to play of the 8 minutes of added time, but it's looking very likely it's going to finish Wolves 2, Bournemouth 4 this afternoon in the Premier League. Once again, it's been a historic afternoon for AFC Bournemouth, Justin Clivert and Evan Nielsen, with Clivert getting that hat-trick of penalties in the Premier League for the first time ever, and Evan Nielsen winning all 3 of those penalties for the first time too. But it's been an afternoon to forget for Wolves, with those giving away those 3 penalties to Bournemouth, and really an afternoon to forget in terms of shots on target. But a good afternoon for Horgan Strand Larsen himself, getting that brace this afternoon. Well, it's going to be good night from me at Molineux, and I've been Millie Payne, and for the time here, it's Wolves 2, Bournemouth 4.
Thank you very much. That was Millie Payne, who's had an absolute belter of a game to watch. We do have some full times rolling in as well from the Premier League. Freddie Kilby was watching Crystal Palace versus Newcastle.
Yes, thank you, Jamie. At Selhurst Park, it has finished Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle United 1. Newcastle took the lead through an own goal from Mark Gahey. He bundled in Anthony Gordon's effort low cross into the box. But Daniel Munoz has proved if you don't succeed at first, you try and try again. After he missed his sitter in the first half, it inches close. But he did score his first Crystal Palace goal to get them back into the game in the 94th minute. So he'd have been delighted with that. And the Magpies look absolutely defeated and deflated as they just succumb to 1 point. They only take 1 point back up north, and it's a deflating draw for them. But Crystal Palace will be delighted, as that point helps them boost them up from the 19th place in the table. So they'll be delighted with a point, and Oliver Glasner certainly looked delighted as he's punching the air on the touchline.
And somebody who'll be punching the air in the press room of Crawley will be Finlay Harley. Got a full-time update for us for Crawley versus Lincoln. We don't have a full-time update. Finlay Harlow not quite ready for us yet, but we're going to jump down to the National League North, Oxford versus Farsley Celtic, that Toby Chapman's been watching.
It's full-time here. The players have just beaten the rain as it's starting to come down. It was an Oxford City masterclass. It made sense why goalkeeper Kai Mackenzie Lyle was wearing the long sleeves, because I don't think he was involved at all with the game. It was 4 goals up for Oxford City. Last touch of the last minute, though, towering centre-back Aaron Pickles from Farsley Celtic was able to reach above the rest and pop it into the net. So it ended up being Oxford City 4, Farsley Celtic 1.
Good game in the National League North over there. We've rounded up all the full times for the game in the studio. In fact, no, we haven't. We've got Freddie Dorman to round up Brentford versus Leicester.
It's finished here. Brentford 4, Leicester 1. It was a great afternoon for the Bees, but a rather frustrating one for Leicester, especially as they took the lead through Facundo Buonanotte. But it was Johan Wissa who made it 1-1, and then Kevin Charlotte with a hat-trick to make it 4-1 and kill off the game. Van Nistelrooy wasn't in charge, but he will be taking charge next week, so he's got a lot of thinking to do. But for Brentford, they move up to 7th in the league. So it is Brentford 4, Leicester 1.
That's in the Premier League. Let's go down to the FA Cup. We're going to try with Finn Harlow again. He's been watching Crawley versus Lincoln in the FA Cup.
Hello, Jamie. It is all over here. Full time. Crawley 3, Lincoln City 4. There was that false dawn. Didn't happen. There was no false dawn, unfortunately, for Crawley. They were very flat after their third goal. But the damage was really done in the second with the 2 goals quickly off half-time to make it 4-2. But what can you say? Lincoln will very happily move on to the next round. They absolutely destroyed them and totally deserved the win at the end of the day, other than the 2 goals from Crawley early in the first half. I've been Finlay Harlow, coming to you live from the People's Pension Stadium. Goodbye.
Finn Harlow watching Crawley versus Lincoln. Lincoln City come away in the FA Cup, and that is full time across pretty much every single game today. Let's run you through some of those final full time scores if you are just joining us. Stupid time to just join us. In the Premier League, Brentford 4, Leicester City 1, Crystal Palace 1, Newcastle 1, Nottingham Forest 1, Ipswich 0, Wolves 2, history making Bournemouth 4. In the Championship, Middlesbrough 3, Hull City 1, Oxford United 1, Millwall 1, Watford 0, QPR 0, Blackburn Rovers 1, Leeds United 0, Bristol City 4, Plymouth 0, Coventry 2, Cardiff 2, Norwich City 4, Luton 2, Preston 1, West Brom 1, Stoke City 0, Burnley 2, Swansea City 2, Portsmouth 2. In League 2, the early kick-offs today, Carlisle United 1, Crewe Alexandra 1 and Fleetwood 0, Colchester 0. In the Emirates FA Cup, the second round today, Wellston succumbed to Wycombe Wanderers 2-0 at home. As we just heard, Crawley 3, Lincoln 4, Exeter 2, Chesterfield 0, Leyton Orient 1, Oldham 1. That's currently into extra time. Morecambe 1, 10-man Bradford City 0, Peterborough United 4, Notts County 3, Salford City 2, Cheltenham 0, Stevenage 0, Mansfield 1, Stockport 3, Brackley Town 1, Walsall 0, Charlton 4. And the games that are going to extra time, Accrington 2, 10-man Swindon 2, Barnsley 0, Bristol Rovers 0. That's also in extra time. And Cambridge 1, Wigan 1. They've played 3 minutes of extra time there. And that's pretty much all of the FA Cup 3 p.m. action, with AFC Wimbledon versus Dagenham and Redbridge to come at 7:15 today. There are a few non-league fixtures, one of them, or a few of them being in the National League. Braintree 2, Gateshead 2, Ebbsfleet 0, Boston 0, Halifax 0, Southend 2, Hartlepool 0, Barnet 0, Sutton 2, AFC Fylde 0, Woking 0, Yeovil 2, and York City 6, Maidenhead 2. I've been Jamie Olashinsky. We have been Solent Sports News. It's been a brilliant soccer Saturday, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.